The pledge was item B, which is correct. Now we're going to go to item C, adjustments to the agenda.
I have none.
Other than all of this.
And mea culpa, when putting together the minutes to distribute, I used the model for the special meeting rather than the regular meeting. So we're going to be following the model for the regular meeting.
Just bear with us. Item D, approval of minutes. There should be 3 sets. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to accept the minutes for Tuesday, March 9th, Tuesday, March 23rd, and Wednesday, March 31st.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Item E, communication and correspondence.
I have several letters of resignation, which I'll take up in my report.
Item F is reminder of public participation. Any public comment will be, need to send to Elizabeth Ealteri at ealteri@ellsworthschools.org. Do you have any yet tonight, Beth?
I just received one from Alexis Higgins.
Okay.
It says, "Good evening. My name is Alexis Higgins. I am a junior at Ellsworth High School. First and foremost, I am thankful that they are considering a prom at Ellsworth High School. I'm especially thankful that the seniors will have this opportunity, especially since they have lost out on so many normal events. That being said, the planning process already feels like this is not going to be the most positive experience. Here are a few of the projected rules: not being allowed to slow dance, access to not using the bathroom for a female in a large prom dress is not going to work. At this point, it's a rumor. We have also heard that the prom might be opened up to the whole school, and selfishly, especially for the seniors, we should let them be kings and queens for the day they deserve.
Well, it's not working.
I am hoping that knowing some of the details early, the school board can focus on these plans and let us have a traditional junior-senior prom without extra restrictions."
All right, thank you
That's all
very
I
much.
have
Okay, thank you. So item G will be administrator reports. Mr. Clifford?
Good evening, you have my report. So first, spring is in the air, which is a terrific time at school. You go through classrooms and in classrooms and doors are open, and the spring sports are going on, so after school, people are outside, and it's a great time of year. The weather's been beautiful, and so it's fun, and it's real exciting, when after vacation, when all the students will be back, it'll be somewhat normal, or feel normal. So we're excited about that. Unified basketball, they completed their season last night, and they were able to have 2 games with Brewer. We hosted Brewer last week, and then we were at Brewer last night, and the kids were really excited because they won both games. And they had a great time, and it was, probably halfway through the winter, it didn't look like we were going to be able to offer anything. But then the athletic directors got together and figured out a way for it to happen for all the schools. And I know the kids are really appreciative, and the parents are appreciative, and it went really well. It went really well. So it was great to see them. And you have a letter which will be sent home. It hasn't been sent home yet. I am detailing a couple more things before I do, and the parents will get a blast. And that'll be grades 9 through 12. But we do start school on the 26th, everybody, that Monday, grades 9 through 12, and looking forward to it, and just organizing right now, and finalizing a lot of things on Friday when we have our teacher-only day, and getting desks in rooms, and getting hallways ready, and the cafeteria, cafe, AP room, gymnasium ready, and so it'll be good. It'll be good to have that done and ready to roll with the kids. Right now, and we've gotten an early start. We're interviewing for teachers for next year. We have 2 English positions open and a math, and we started interviews last week and continued this week. And we've had some phenomenal candidates, we really have. So I'm really, really excited about that. And trying to move on them as quickly as we can so we can finalize that, early in the spring, and just wait until next year comes. But some of the candidates we've had have been phenomenal, and I know the committees have been really, really excited about that. Any questions on anything?
No questions. I walked the path today, and it was amazing to hear the clink of a bat hitting a
Yeah.
ball. So I was really
Yeah.
excited. I could hear it coming down the path, and it was the best sound. Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah.
Do we have any updated plans on theater? And I've had some people approach me, and there seems to be some public confusion. We do have, the theater program is going, there's obviously,
Yeah, they're preparing right now.
and is there going to be a performance that people will get to see in person, or is it just gonna be online, do you
Well,
know?
Rebecca can answer more specifically than I, but no, I mean, we're trying to do something in person.
Right,
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. And Lexi's email, and I can speak to that a little bit about the prom. And
Sure.
we are in the process of organizing it. It hasn't been opened up to the entire school. It'll be a traditional prom like we've always had. It is a debate whether to open up the school for bathroom use, or they have bigger, really big porta potties that are nice, and we may do that. But we're throwing a lot of things around right now. But it will be a traditional prom. We do have to go by the CDC guidelines, obviously, whether it's 3 feet or 6 feet away. We will have to do that with masks. But we're excited to hold something. A lot of high schools aren't even trying it. I think it's really important that we do try it, try
Absolutely.
something. So it'll be special for the kids.
Great.
But-
Thank you for your effort,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
My niece is a
of course.
junior at another school. They're not even talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hope we can do it and it'll go well, for sure.
Thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Gabbianelli.
Good evening.
You have my report. So March was Middle Level Education Month, and we were able to celebrate the magic in the middle all month long, which was really great. Students participated in various challenges and showed their EMS pride. They made some videos about what middle school means to them. I'm still currently trying to put it together in one video to be able to show, but it was really so heartwarming to see, what middle school means to them and what they love about middle school. Chocolate milk is a big deal. It's a big deal. And it was great. They're fantastic videos, and I love them, and I love our kids. And they're so honest with you when you ask them a question. It's just fantastic. So we were able to celebrate all month long, and it was so much fun. So I thank the teachers and the students for all their participation, because we just had a great month. Something that I did not include in my report is the 8th grade is currently working on some fundraising. A letter went home with them to solicit some businesses. We're going to try to do a calendar for May, a raffle calendar, like a cash calendar. So we're looking for some donations from businesses in the community. Or if some businesses just want to give a donation to the 8th grade class, we're looking to do a little bit of fundraising so that we can try to hold some end-of-year festivities like we normally would as well. We don't have any definitive plans yet, but we are working on that, and so the kids are kicking it off, and I already got an email today saying that we've gotten a bunch of donations already, so it's pretty exciting. That letter just went home yesterday and today, so be on the lookout for that. Some of our 8th grade kiddos will be coming around talking to business owners, and we prep them about how to do that and what they need to do, so pretty exciting. Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Wood thoughtfully put together some helpful tips for parents and students for the return to school that were posted on our Facebook page, kind of getting back in the swing and seeing how they can help support that social emotional well-being and offer some tips for families, because it's been a while since we've been on a 5-day-a-week schedule. I think our 8th graders will feel it at the end of this week for sure, which will be great. And then we're still looking for a long-term sub for 7th grade ed techs and some substitutes. So if anybody is interested in applying, please do not hesitate to reach out and put your application in. much like Mr. Clifford said, everybody's outside. We're already outside for spring sports, which is amazing. Typically, we don't get outside until after April vacation. So kids are practicing outside. It's so great to see them be able to get outside. So great to see kids biking to school. I love it. So it's fantastic. So those have started with baseball, softball, and track. Of course, we still have theater, robotics, those activities still going on. So we're still have a lot to offer at the middle school. And I just want to remind parents, and I'll say it again a little bit later on in the agenda item, but this Friday, April 16th, is a non-student day for grades 5, 6, and 7. The only middle school grade level that will be in the building will be 8th grade that day. So everyone else has a non-student day this Friday. Are there any questions?
What kind of donations are the eighth graders going to be looking for
So
from businesses?
businesses are, right now, thus far, we've gotten like $25 gift cards or things like that so we can put on the calendar so we can sell raffle tickets. The calendar and the raffle tickets will be ready to be passed out to the 8th graders so that they can go around and sell raffle tickets right after break. So things like that. Or if anybody wants to just give a monetary donation to the 8th grade class, certainly I can write a letter thanking them for their donation. It can be
Yeah,
a tax for your tax purposes. So,
but for businesses that have gift cards, that's something that they'd be.
yeah, we would love it if they would like to donate like a gift card or some merchandise so that we can put it on the cash calendar and raffle it off.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Any other questions? Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Erica.
April?
Good evening. You have my report. It did come today a little bit later, just so that you know. So I started off with an awesome student celebration. I got to visit Miss Lowell's class, and as you can see in my report, I included a picture. She had what we call a glow celebration. Students had name tags with their names written in fluorescent markers, so when we had the black light on, their names glowed off their chest. They had glow sticks to celebrate completing a large animal project. They created their own book. The book had a table of contents. They had pictures, they had references, they had an introduction, they had a conclusion, and they had a body all focused on an animal. So through the celebration, I got to attend and listen to kids read. They got to choose a portion of their book that they wanted to read that they thought was most interesting. So I got to hear her cohort do that, which was absolutely fabulous. It was lots of fun, as you can see in the picture. And also grade, same as Erica, I don't want to spend a lot of time, but grade 4 did return on Monday. And I had the opportunity to walk through each homeroom as they settled in and just kind of do a touch base with students. You know, how are we feeling today? We glad to be back? Thumbs up. How many of you are a little nervous? You know, a couple sideways thumbs. So I got an opportunity to kind of check in. And then the 4th grade team and I met directly after school to work on things that we needed to clean up based on the first day. But kids seemed resilient. Today, I'm covering part of that recess duty just because of staffing. And they had a list of things that they would like for tomorrow's recess. So I've got to get some chalk and some bubbles after this game, so please don't extend it so I can still shop. But they'd give me a list of things that they would like to do. We spent, yesterday we did the playground, but today I took them up to the track just because I wanted to kind of separate from the other recesses that we had. So it was a great day. I had a good time outside with them. It was a lot of fun. I want to talk about the student supports. Our tutoring program is still jam-packed full. We're lucky we're about 41 students right now. Teachers are working in groups of 2s, 3s, and 4 students after school, and they're working 4 days a week. So Monday through Thursday, they tutor students from 3 to 4. And then students, thank you, Mr. Saunders and the transportation crew, for taking them home and doing those things. So that's been a big improvement. We've talked about the difference it's made, especially in our younger students, our K-1 students. So that's something I want to thank Kelly Rudolph too for organizing that for me and helping support students, and obviously for Rachel for supporting the program. We are working on summer programming. We're looking at doing things a little bit differently, so it's taking a little bit more time, but we are looking to provide opportunities with that, and I know that Carol Ann as well is for extended school year services as well. So that stuff hopefully will be organized and kind of coming out soon so that parents can start to plan if they're interested in that. I did want to talk about a little bit about our remote support specialist. Miss Roy had reached out. I talked last board meeting that she had reached out to families on the remote days, and that's something we weren't getting a lot of response because families had kind of already established their routine and what they were doing. So one of the things that we talked about is how to utilize her best skill set. So she is actually at the Moore School, and she supports students who attend the Y. We're focusing on grades K and 1 because they're kind of later on the timeline to come back, so that we wouldn't disrupt what she was doing and that she can make an impact. She's been there 2 weeks. I've dropped in on a maroon day and a gray day to support her, and I want to thank Shauna and Alicia Grindle and Peter at the Y because it's really gone well, and it's making an impact. Again, as I talked about, we're seeing that students are now able to get all their work done, and they're able to have that done with a certified teacher, which is what we do best, and the Y does recreational best. So they're able to get what they need, and in addition, as time allows, she's able to reinforce foundational skills. And she's focused on, as I said in the report, K1, just because 2's coming back and 4 already came back. So that's been our focus. I think that's all. We are just looking for, we did complete our second parent-teacher conferences. Those all have to be done by this Friday. So parents have had their second parent-teacher conference of the year for K4. And we're looking for ed techs, substitute teachers, and we still need a long-term sub for grade 1. So that list is shorter, if you didn't notice. Any questions for me?
No, I think we're all set.
Happy shopping.
Oh.
I know, right? We'll try and get you to the store on time.
Do we have a projected date for kindergarten to come back yet?
There is no tentative date for kindergarten. I sent communications out this evening about that.
Are we still looking for a position there too?
We need support staff there to be able to make that happen. And we need support, I need a long-term sub for grade 1. I know that's an agenda item, so I don't
Yeah,
want to take
we're
a lot
gonna
of
do
time
that.
for that.
Yep.
No problem.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome, thank you.
Thanks, April.
Thanks, April.
Mrs. Bowles?
Good evening. First, an update on our hospitality program. We're pleased to announce that 2 of our students have been able to start their 100-hour internship to earn their CHTMP, which is Certified Hospitality Travel Management Professional Certification. We're very thankful to Eve Young, who is the general manager at Comfort Inn and works really closely with Witham Properties. She's on our hospitality advisory board, and she has graciously offered to mentor these 2 students, and that's Nate Smith, a senior at Ellsworth High School, and Alexis Higgins, a junior at Ellsworth High School. So the 2 of them have started their internship hours there, which we're really excited about. Also really excited to announce that we found out yesterday that we have firmed up a dual enrollment agreement for hospitality after only being in operation for 1 year. Tara's done so much work on this program and on the curriculum that Southern Maine Community College, which has a really outstanding hospitality program out of Portland, is going to offer 3-credit dual enrollment for students that take this program, which is a really great thing, having only been in existence for 1 year. So I'm really proud of the work that Tara and Hope High did on that. We're excited, we haven't been able to do a lot of the business kinds of things that we would do in a typical year where businesses come into technical centers. That's true statewide, not independent of Ellsworth. So the business community statewide has worked really hard to provide different types of opportunities for kids to still engage with career and technical centers. And so during the month of May, our diesel technology program is taking advantage of something that Hale Tractor, Nortrex, and Sappy Paper are putting together, where students are going to have the opportunity during our course time to do 40-minute courses throughout the month of May, where they'll get fleet training and different types of online courses and certifications with the business community that they wouldn't otherwise get. So we're really excited about that for our diesel students. I want to thank Brian Langley, who is the executive director of Bridge Academy. He has listened to us and how hard this year's Bridge students have had it in terms of not getting the full Bridge Academy experience that kids typically do. There was no summer academy. There's not a lot of in-person stuff that we can gather them together as a large group and do some of the support services types of things in person that we would normally do. He listened to that and advocated, and our students have had a chance on Monday, and they have another chance this Friday. They Zoomed with Senator Collins, and they're Zooming with Senator Angus King Friday. to kind of get a pep talk and to talk a little bit about what Bridge Academy means to them and what they wish it could have been, and just have an open dialogue with government officials, which I think is really important. So thank you, Brian, for arranging that for our students. It's that time of year where we've been working feverishly to do enrollment. The numbers have changed since I sent my report this afternoon. As of when I left school today, we were at 253 enrolled students with another about 20 to 25 kids that I need to finish. So I expect that number to go up by at least 5 or 10. So we'll actually be further ahead than we were a year ago. We were at 252 on this board meeting a year ago. And I won't lie, I'm over the moon because I really did not think we were going to get there. We missed a lot of kids because of, not being able to normally recruit. And if they're 100% remote, a lot of kids didn't want to Zoom and get the information. But interest has been really, really high. So I'm really excited. Principals worked really, really hard with me at all the high schools to give me a chance to talk to kids in person. And I think that made a difference. Kids haven't been able to visit, of course, so I do think that held some kids back. So, there's some thoughts if at some point this summer, even if some kids could visit and we had openings and programs, I think we might even pick up a couple more kids at that time. But I'm thrilled with it. We also had 16 bridge applications come in, and we're finishing those enrollments up as well. So either at the next board meeting or workshop, I should be able to give you a breakdown by program and by school of enrollment. But I feel really good about where we're at for enrollment for the fall at this time. Last but not least, I do want to take a moment to honor our kids who won awards at Maine State Science Fair, because some of what they did was pretty awesome. And I want to give them a little bit of a shout out. I won't read every single paragraph about every single kid, but there are a couple that I do want to highlight. So first, congratulations to Kerrigan Andrews, who's an Ellsworth High School Bridge senior, who presented improving winter road conditions using heat-producing synthetic organisms in the chemistry category. She is going to be a biomedical engineering major at the University of Maine in the fall. So again, these students all created these projects on their own, had to conduct research, and then be interviewed by scientists and professors of science departments in these competitions. So, second, congratulations to McKenna Martin, a DRL Stonington senior, who presented her project, Designing a Better Lyme Disease Test, in the Biomedical and Health Sciences category. She's a senior in our program and going to the University of Maine, majoring in molecular and cell biology. Her plan is to study specifically autoimmune diseases. Congratulations to Amber Ray Pesic, an Ellsworth High School Bridge Academy junior, who presented the project, Does Activity Level Affect Flare-Ups in People with Autoimmune Disease, in the Biomedical and Health Sciences category. She won a $1,000 scholarship to York Community College. She wants to, I promised her that I would do a shout out to her mentor, Elizabeth Marnick. Some of you probably know the Marnicks. She will continue with our biomedical program next year as a senior. So she actually entered, which is quite rare, as a junior. So I want to give a special shout out to Ariel Larrabee. Ariel was just named valedictorian of her class at DRL Stonington High School. And she has done our Bridge Academy program at Ellsworth High School the last 2 years. This year, she presented a project called Designing Synbio to Reduce Prolonged Microplastic Exposure in Fish in the Biomedical Sciences category. If you remember last year, as a junior, she presented and placed third. And she last year won a full boat scholarship to the University of Maine. And she will be majoring in biomedical engineering there in the fall. And she gets a stipend to continue her research that she had started with this project. She gets a stipend to continue it with professors at UMaine next year. Congratulations to Lily Philbrook, also an Ellsworth High School Bridge senior. Many of you know Lily. Her project was using synthetic biology to address ongoing issues within the human embalming process in the biological sciences category. She won full tuition scholarship for a semester to Central Maine Community College. She plans to attend their very competitive 2-year forensic science program in the fall. She wants to be a crime scene investigator. Congratulations to Bryce Carter, an Ellsworth High School Bridge Academy senior who presented the role of microgreens in helping to solve the hunger crisis in the plant sciences category. He won 3rd place and was also awarded the RICO Sustainable Development Award, recognizing his outstanding efforts in addressing issues of environmental responsibility and sustainable development. He will be a wildlife ecology major at the University of Maine Presque Isle in the fall. So this is just a smattering of some awesome things that kids are doing, and certainly dispels the rumor that kids that go to a career and technical school don't go to 4 or 2-year colleges. So I always try to show those examples. So I'm really proud of them. This is above and beyond their program and their bridge classes, and kudos to Sarah Petroulis once again giving up her time. This is an all-day Saturday event to mentor these kids. And this year it was all online, which stinks, and made it so much more stressful for the kids to have to be interviewed over the computer. So I'm really, really proud of what they did this year. Finally, we are open on Friday, even though the high school is closed. If you are an Ellsworth High School student, I have worked with Mr. Saunders, and we are providing busing. If a student needs transportation home after the AM session or a ride to HCTC for the PM session, they just have to let me or their instructor know, and we've got a system that will get that all situated for you. But they will do a pickup in the morning, and in the afternoon, they'll bring you home so that you can attend HCTC. And finally, we're still looking for an ed tech for automotive and diesel. So if anybody's interested in getting information on that, we would love to talk to you. Questions?
Just those projects sound incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And like really, really impactful in the world that we live in. They're just really
Yeah, I
awesome.
can't
That's really
believe that the synthetic biology things.
Oh, it's
that
crazy.
To warm up roads and break down plastics and fish guts. I mean, how do these, I mean, these are our students coming
I
up
know,
with
I
these.
kind of go, what? I don't understand sometimes when they're talking to me, and I just say, I'm really proud of you. But it is amazing
Uh-huh.
what they can do and think about.
Yeah.
Yep, it is amazing.
Congratulations to all of them. It's
Yes.
pretty amazing.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Thank you for all
Thank
you're
you,
doing to
Amy.
facilitate all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Annie?
It's nice to see you in person.
Nice
Yes.
to see you in person.
It's the first time in a long time. So I'm not quite doing my, are you helping me?
This is just
This
your
is not-
report.
This is
Yeah.
just my administrator report. Okay.
Annie's a part of our presentation tonight too, so we're just making sure, but this is just the report.
I think she might be my babysitter.
She's ready to help you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Annie Sargent. I've been sort of a voice like the Wizard of Oz for most of the year, but I'm very happy to be here in person. You have my report, which has not even been loaded up onto Drive yet, but I handed it out to everybody. Where we developed the CNA instructor and I developed a hybrid CNA program that is a pilot, and we're learning a lot. I sort of decided I should have taken the class and gotten my CNA certificate because I've been part of that class every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night since for a while. But it's been fun, and I love Nancy Eaton, who's doing the classroom instruction. And the clinical will be at Northern Light, Maine Coast, and Seaport. So we're excited about that. And, you know, as I said in my last report, online isn't going to go away for us. It's going to be, you know, we're always going to have 2 tracks of our enrichment and workforce training programming. So a big part of my life this year has been creating our learning center space. And I am very Excited to say that we have insulated rooms where you can't hear people talking in the next room, which is huge in the Mill Mall to accomplish that. We just got doors, which was, where everything's happening very slowly, so it's very exciting, each new development. And I hope you've noticed the big, beautiful Ellsworth Adult Ed sign, the building sign in front of the Mill Mall, and a flag with our tree logo on it. So we're very excited about that. We also have phones at every desk. Thank you, IT department. They have dedicated quite a lot of time recently when they've had lots of other agenda items to get us all wired up. So that's been really great. We have electricity in most walls. And so we're all set except, almost all set. HVAC is coming next. New sprinklers, and then hopefully this summer we'll get some business folks who might want to volunteer their time to do some painting. We want to add some color to our walls, and so we also want business people to come in and talk to us about our programming. So, and then we'll have a grand opening in the early fall. So we aren't finished with our enrichment programming. We have a parenting class, which I'll talk about in a second, and beekeeping intermediate. Those are our 2 online classes that are coming up. And then we have 2 dance classes, thanks to the Elks Lodge. We have 2 in-person dance classes. Line dancing, which is, not a partner dance, so you can come, an individual can come. And for ballroom dance, it has to be couples because we have to maintain the 6-foot bubble. So it's going to be a small group, but an enthusiastic one, hopefully. Anything else on that? And finally, we'll be doing a Maine Driving Dynamics course in May, and can't remember, I don't think we'd had the course yet, but our driving instructor last month had to teach the class into 2 rooms, because we all of a sudden realized we had too many students to be in one room, so he stood between the 2 rooms and taught into the class. So that was a project just to make that happen with technology. We're all doing those kinds of things, that's for certain. As always, this is the time we're seeking ideas for classes for next semester, and also eager to get input on whether people like the online classes. I think my sense is that certain classes work well online and others don't, but we're eager to get input on that. And then I've really focused my attention on trying to support kids, parents, and community members in the mental health area. So we're going to have a presentation. These young people here and Mrs. Wright and I are going to share about the yellow tulip. And Stacy Wood from Ellsworth Elementary Middle School and I have been working on a Parenting in These Times class. So that's coming up. Here's a poster for it, a flyer. And it's 3 sessions starting May 6th, 3 Thursday nights. And she's been trained in triple P positive parenting, and this particular series of seminars is for parents of kids birth through the age of 12. And this is one of many examples of the Ellsworth School District supporting parents and families during these challenging times. So we're excited to be doing that. And that's it for now. I could talk all night, but I'm pretty sure that we need to get April to the store.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Annie.
Next will be Rachel. Is she via Zoom?
I believe Rachel is here via Zoom.
Okay.
Rachel, are you here?
I am.
All right. You are up.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. So I want to talk a little bit about how our federal funding is helping us support the return to the schools that everyone's been talking about. We are very fortunate to be able to leverage this funding to make several purchases to support our students and to get them back in school. We've been able to purchase foundational reading materials to support our students who will need the additional support as they transition from remote to in-school learning. We're also able to support the Yellow Tulip Project that Annie and Ms. Wright and the students from high school are about to talk to you about. Also, Ms. Van Dorn had a great idea about portable kiosks and materials to support social and emotional health at the high school. We were able to purchase 100 desks to replace tables that prevented social distancing at the elementary school so that our kids could come back. We are really excited that we're going to be able to have 36 picnic tables. You'll start to be able to see them populating the schools outside so that kids will be able to get outside and not only so that they can start eating lunch outside, but also we'll be able to have learning stations throughout the Ellsworth School Department so that even as we transition out of our pandemic, we'll be able to have learning stations in our garden spaces and be able to really transition to have outdoor learning. So we're really excited about that. Mr. Norwood found really wonderful things that I hadn't even heard of that I'm very excited about. He purchased 30 bicycles that grow from kindergarten through second grade. They grow with the children as they grow. They transition. To me, they sound like Transformers. Transition with the kids as they grow. So that's exciting. And also, we found, Mr. Downs found some outdoor-indoor balls that have math equations on them. So it kind of encourages cross-content learning. And also some floor coverings to protect our middle school gyms as the gyms are used for social distancing activities. As we use the gyms for other things, as we talk about thinking outside of the box for other activities, we'll be able to protect the gym floors. So though that federal funding is used for a lot of different ways to be able to get our kids back in the schools. We also have a big announcement from the state. And I was actually able to send out an email to our teachers today, so they were able to hear this first before our community, so that in case they get questions, they were able to hear this as well. As many know, in the past, the Maine state assessment has been really frustrating for teachers and families because they receive data from the tests sometimes many months after students take the tests, and therefore they have very little value because they inform instruction for teachers so late, or they're not able to help families know how to support their children with their studies. In a recent press release, the Maine Department of Education shared the news that they would be, quote, showing their continued support of Maine educators, schools, and school administrative units by replacing the former MEA assessment for math and ELA literacy standards with an assessment for students in grades 3 through 8 and the third year of high school that will provide timely and actionable data for instruction. And this is straight from their press release, and I wanted to share it with you all. They say, in addition, the schools will have access to use the assessment with grade 10 students, should they choose, and we will be doing that. Beginning March 1st, 2021, the department will be providing the Northwest Evaluation Association, which we all know as the NWEA, MAP growth assessment. So we are very fortunate in the Ellsworth School Department because this is the local assessment that we already use to support our teachers and families in informing instruction. So this will be not difficult for us as far as training goes because our teachers have been using this for quite a while. And in fact, it will have a positive budgetary impact because now the state will pay for the licenses of the students in grades 3 through 10, and it will provide additional training support for our teachers, any new IT staff we have, and the families that are new to our community when it's needed. We are very fortunate in our school district. There are many districts throughout the state that don't use the NWEA, and so they're finding in the middle of the pandemic that they're having to switch to this new assessment. But we're very lucky because the state is now switching to an assessment that we already use for the state assessment. So our teachers are already very good at using it, and it's a set of data that we have been trained on using. But now the state is offering free training on it. It we've been watching the rollout of it, and they're going to be doing all new data training on it. They are doing a really good job of sharing it with family trainings and things like that, so we'll be able to share that with the whole community, and they're doing a very good job. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to share like webinars that we can send out to our families on understanding how to interpret the data reports and how students are doing and that kind of thing. So I think this is going to be a way for families and our teachers to really talk about data and look at how our students are doing and really inform instruction in the classroom even better than we already have. So I think that it'll be good for us as well, because now the state is picking up the tab. It'll save us some money down the road as well. Finally, as far as a certification tool that I'm working on, I wanted to share that since the current inception of the Ellsworth School Department in 2014, when we came back to being our own world, we've had many professional development opportunities, and I often receive requests from teachers who are preparing to recertify. They ask if they can get duplicates of certificates from these experiences as they're pulling together their documentation for recertification. And actually I had that experience myself when I was recertifying and looking through my certificates, because you have to collect a certain amount of hours and pull them all together for yourself. And so I'm currently working on a database of these retroactive experiences back to the fall of 2014, so that teachers can have a checklist to refer back to and use going forward. So it'll be updated as we move forward so that each teacher can have a personalized certification organizer to ease the process, and they'll be able to kind of have a list where they can check them off as they go. We're also looking into some software that does this in the future, sort of like a credentialing system, so that our teachers who are already doing this, doing so much for our students, can have one less worry on their minds. We're hoping it'll kind of be an organizer. From what I understand, for instance, from Debbie Richards, our instructional coach in Texas, they had kind of a system where it would print out, they would have a printout per teacher, where it would just spit it out of their own system. So we're trying to look into seeing if we could create something like that. You know, they often say there's an app for that. So we're looking at something that we could create for our own teachers and give them one less thing to worry about. So we're gonna work on that, but for now I'm gonna try at least to create a Google Doc going back to 2014 so that they can have something that'll make things a little bit easier as they're recertifying. So I wanted to share with that, and beyond that, if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Any questions? Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Good night.
You too. Mr. Higgins?
Yes, now, you've heard all the talk about spring. I'm going to be the person that gives the downer on that, so I'll take full responsibility if we have a snowstorm after April break. And actually, in our last leadership team meeting, I did say, you know, we're not going to meet over break, and we're probably going to cancel our April 28th meeting because there's going to be a nor'easter. Our principals have heard that. And let's hope I'm not right. But leading into that, again, at the risk of tempting Mother Nature to bring a springtime nor'easter, just want to report this evening that we've used 2 storm days this school year, December 17th and February 2nd. And pending another storm day, the final student day of the 2021 school year will be Tuesday, June 15th, and the final staff day will be Wednesday, June 16th. So everybody keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you do, and let's hope we don't have another snowstorm.
And if we get one, we know who to blame.
Absolutely, Beth. Absolutely. Just want to talk quickly, you've heard about a couple of vacancies, I want to add a couple. Chuck Trumbull is looking for custodians for the 2nd or 3rd shift. We do have an ad out there. But a couple of recent resignations, so we're still looking for a couple more people. You heard April and Erica talk about long-term subs for grade 7 and grade 1, ed techs across the board, and we're still looking for an admin assistant for the special ed director. Did have some letters of resignation. 2 English teachers at the high school, Stephanie Magruder, Adam Hitchcock, have resigned. 2 custodians for the school department, Joe Dunn and Gary Gilmore, are moving on. And Deb Hodgkins, who's been an ed tech at EEMS for the past 4 or 5 years, is resigning at the end of the year. We'll talk about budget a little bit later on the agenda, but just want to get this information out to board members and to the community. Tentative dates in the budget approval process, and I use the word tentative purposely, but Tuesday, April 27th, it's likely that we would call a special meeting for you as a board to consider and approve for presentation to the council the FY22 ESD budget. I say tentative on that one because if we need to, we can push it back to the following week, which would be May 3rd or May 4th.
And that
City-
is the night of our regular workshop, just so our board members
Yes,
know.
yep.
Just be in addition to.
But you're gonna have so much information, so much more information on the budget tonight, you might be ready tomorrow. Monday, May 17th will be the city council meeting, and that's the meeting where they typically will consider and vote to approve a budget. And that vote will also include a recommendation to move it forward to the voters. And the budget validation referendum vote is scheduled for Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. And even though it seems like it's a world away, we encourage people to stay involved, stay informed about the budget process, and please come out and cast your vote and support the budget for the schools. A couple of other things that are not on your written report. I want to just let you know the legislature, in some ways, is moving quickly. As you know, they've passed a budget. But there are still a number of education-related bills that are on the docket and in the hopper that are moving into the public hearing stage, and they'll be moving rather quickly, so look for some communications on ones that we'll be asked to provide our information and testimony on. And also, many people are planning to travel over the upcoming April vacation. We'll be having a communication go out tomorrow or Thursday, just as a reminder to people, when you're traveling, please look at your destination, please look at where you're going, when you're coming back, and what the requirements are with regard to the CDC and travel guidelines. You know, everyone's done such a great job this year keeping our schools and our staff members involved of where you're going, when you're coming back, and what you need to do. We just want to encourage you to continue doing that, because with our kids coming back to school after vacation, more people in our buildings, it's even more important to make sure that you're following those guidelines and keeping our schools open. So, that concludes my report, unless you have questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Actually, Beth, do you have any public
I
comments?
do
We're gonna
have
take
a
break.
comment from Shannon Curtis, so I don't have any specific questions, but just a statement tonight. I want to publicly thank our school board members for their dedication to our children and staff. You've been tasked with some tough decisions this year, and you've risen to the occasion time and time again. I know your job isn't easy and sometimes feels thankless, but what an incredible relief it is to know that you're on the ready to roll up your sleeves at a moment's notice. I know the Curtis family has specifically called on you, and we've been met with warm reception each and every time. Much love to you, Shannon Curtis.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thank you, that was awfully nice.
Yes.
So what will be item H is committee reports. And Paul, I know you mentioned you had one.
Yeah, just briefly, at our March 23rd special meeting, we approved a draft of a letter that I composed for Maine Department of Health and Human Services Commissioner Jean Lambrou. And that letter was sent, and I got a call today from Scott Perkins, who's the constituent services coordinator for, who works with Jean Lambrou, and he wanted to let me know that she had read the letter and wanted to acknowledge that, thanked us for our thoughtful commentary and advocating on behalf of the students to be back full-time, which, you know, they are now. In the letter, I talked about the 3-foot rule while eating, which that rule hasn't been addressed yet, but the, you know, commissioner is looking at that and other things to, when and if the health requirements change, they will certainly, you know, take into account the social and emotional needs of children and balance those against what all the distancing and mask requirements are. So I thought it was good to hear from the department, know that that letter was received and read, and just wanted to let the board know and the public know. And I thanked Mr. Perkins for his communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a couple. We had Finance Committee met on March 18th. We had 3 meetings with administrators for budget reports. And then our Finance Committee and the City Council's Finance Committee met on April 2nd at 7:30 in the morning here in the council chambers for their Friday morning meeting. And that was basically just an initial presentation of the budget, which Dan also did last night for the council, so, for the full council. We had Dropout Prevention Committee on March 29th, and that group is such an amazing, dedicated group to student need. So you'll hear some tonight about a presentation for the Yellow Tulip Project, but also just always continually assessing the situation in all of our schools about getting our students to school and serving them the best that they can. So the ideas that bounce around in that committee are always very needed, and it's just a great conversation. So tonight I'm excited for you all to hear about the Yellow Tulip Project, 'cause it'll be amazing. And then, yes, go ahead.
And then personnel has met. Kelly and I have met with Dan and begun collective bargaining with the ed techs and their union rep. So we've had, I guess we've had the initial meeting. So we have another one scheduled, and we're looking forward to meeting soon with custodians and bus drivers.
Great.
Is that correct?
And that committee met last week to make final preparations for the first bargaining session, which actually is this
Right.
coming Thursday.
Yep.
And also, you'll be asked on the agenda to acknowledge the action they took on your behalf in confirming a new teacher for us.
Yes.
Which is a really positive piece of news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, thanks.
Excellent.
Speaking of collective bargaining, can we put on next, the workshop agenda, I don't know if it has to be an executive session, but so we as a board can ask some questions and get some info on how that is going, and just some, I have some more specific questions that I'm not sure if that's really appropriate for open discussion.
I think it has to be an executive session.
Right.
Typically, once those processes start, Abby, we'll put an item on the agenda each month, a negotiations update, and put a executive session call on there, so we can do that.
We can do that.
Let's do that, because I don't believe we've done that before.
Okay. All right, any other committee reports?
As you know, the school climate surveys have gone out. The deadline was today at 5. At last check from Terry at the law office, there was about 200 surveys that had been received out of right around a little over 300 that were sent, so that's
Okay.
a fairly good return rate. She's hoping to have that information gathered for us by Friday.
Okay.
So we will definitely keep you posted as soon as we see or hear anything about that.
Great, thank you. All right, item I, any old business? No? So item J1, which is our staff and student presentation.
Now is when I need you. Do it without you.
I could have done that.
It's okay if you keep me in line in general, though. So far, so good. Do I have to go through the whole process again? Here? Oh, right. Chair pair. Oh, 18, sorry. Okay, 6, 7, 8. No. Yeah. Mm-hmm. start. Yep, all right. So I was introduced to the Yellow Tulip, actually sort of peripherally a few years ago. But I would say that 96% of the students that come to adult education have fairly debilitating mental health issues. Not everybody, but a lot of them do. It's one of the main reasons why people leave school, right? I don't have to tell you guys that. And so we've been really trying to troubleshoot what to do. And I happened from a former life know the mother of the daughter that started the Yellow Tulip. And I'm extremely passionate about it, but I'm not going to talk about it because what I will say about it is that it's a youth-based organization. It was started by a young woman, and so I'm going to let the youth speak. But before that, I'm going to show you a 3-minute video that I think really articulates the program much better than I could, because it's all young people sharing it, and we all like that. So, and then we'll hear from the kids, and then Mrs. Wright, and then I'll circle back and talk about the community aspect of this program. But now I might need her again. Oh, there you go.
The Yellow Tulip Project is a youth organization focused on normalizing conversations around mental health.
The stigma around mental illness deprives people of what they actually need help with if they do have mental illness. And the problem with that is that prolongs their treatment and often causes more harm in the long term.
Our mission is to cultivate conversation and community activity in order to smash the stigma surrounding mental illness and to make people feel that they are okay and that hope is out there.
The Yellow Tulip Project all began with the passion from Julia Hansen, our founder. After losing 2 of her best friends to suicide, after dealing with mental health herself and struggling with depression, she knew she had to do something. So she founded the Yellow Tulip Project in this act of resilience and almost defiance. In a world where we don't talk about mental health, she decided to talk about it.
She's the epitome of what YTP represents. It's caring about others, activism, not being afraid to stand up for what you believe, and demonstrating that it's okay to smash the stigma, it's okay to reach out to friends and family if you need help.
We are mainly a youth-based organization, however, we are welcoming anyone and everyone who is willing to focus on smashing the stigma surrounding mental illness.
The main thing that the Yellow Tulip Project does is, it's in the name, plant tulips.
Our 2 signature events are our fall ball planting ceremony and our spring Hope Day celebration.
These ball plantings also take place across the country. Members of our movement have also planted yellow tulips at their schools and colleges.
And other major events that we do as the Yellow Tulip Project is facilitating dialogues and conversations. Just bringing those spaces to men and women and all in between who need that space to talk about their story and share their story. So our biggest things are A, planting tulip gardens and spreading hope and watching it grow, and B, setting up those opportunities for everyone to share their story on mental health. One of the most important things of YTP is our photo exhibit.
We created the I Am photo exhibit to just show that everyday people are struggling, everyday people have mental illnesses, everyday people are affected by the stigma surrounding mental illness.
You have a person who you think looks fine when you look at them, look happy, whatnot, and their line statement could be I'm suffering with a mental illness, let's say depression. And the point of that is just by looking at somebody, you can't tell what they're going through.
So it was this beautiful amalgamation of how people are built, simply, that every single person has so much going on.
Well, there you have it. A little shorter than I expected. You got the gist of it.
Absolutely.
Hello.
Stand in front of the mic and then they can hear you.
Okay, cool. First off, thank you for having me. My name's Abby. I'm a senior at Ellsworth High School. And though I've only been part of the Yellow Tulip Project for it's only been 2 or 3 weeks, I've been able to come to this meeting and talk to all of you lovely people. And that is from the youth driven aspect of the Yellow Tulip Project, sorry. And that's something I think is really cool and really unique. I've never seen an organization be so youth driven. There are 400 youth ambassadors nationwide and fast growing, so I think that's really cool. And Mrs. Wright will go over it more in her presentation, but the I Am More Smashing Stigma exhibit I think is a really cool way to normalize the conversation of mental health. Basically what it does is it shows a picture of someone who is struggling with mental illness. It says, I'm struggling with depression, anxiety, whatever illness it is, but it also says, I am a dreamer, I am an educator, I am an athlete. And it shows that you are struggling, but you are so much more than that struggle. Next, a couple things that we're working on to bring to the school. First, we're working on Hope bulletin boards. I don't know if you guys got any copies of that or if you can see that. But we were going to cut out a bunch of these yellow tulip cutouts, and at the top they're going to say, I am hopeful for. And here, mine says, I'm hopeful for my future, warmer weather, my friends and family. And I think this is a good way, since we weren't able to do the gardens this year, to bring a little hope to the school after a really tough year. Oh yeah, and lastly, there's an amazing social media committee in the Yellow Tulip Project that's made an Instagram page that posts daily hope posts, I guess you could call them. And with that, there are theme days such as Music Monday, where they post hopeful playlists that you can listen to. Thinking Thursday, where they post facts, affirmations, sometimes journal prompts that you can do. And Future Friday, where they post famous figures in mental health awareness. And with that, we're planning on bringing some of those ideas to the school once we get back to 5 days a week, and having that daily focused learning period to have either just an announcement or a group of people come together and have a discussion about the posts that they made that day. And we can, I don't know what's going to happen yet, but journaling, discussing, stuff of that sort.
Excellent.
Thank you again.
Did you want to talk about the posters in the bathroom, the hotline?
Oh my God, yes, sorry, I totally forgot.
I knew that was really important.
Oh my God, right there. Yeah, that was another one that I thought was super important, that we've had in the past, but not necessarily for mental health. So I think you guys have a copy of it, page 6 or something in your packet. There are numbers that students can call that we're going to hang up in the bathroom, just because I feel like when students are having that crisis during school, they go to the bathrooms, because it's really hard to just go to a teacher and be like, hey, I'm having a little emergency.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a really good way for students to feel like they have someone there for them in the event of a crisis. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Great job, Abby.
Great job.
There's one. I didn't get one.
I wasn't sure where to.
That's okay. This works. Thank you.
There you go, Darla.
Hello, I'm Calvin Nelson, senior at Ellsworth High School. I think I got into the Yellow Tulip Project about a few weeks ago, mostly through Rachel's challenge. It's also part of the Garden Club Green Team at our school, so I think I kind of heard about it through that sort of grapevine as well. Anyways, so you guys saw the video. Major part of the Yellow Tulip project was planting the Hope Gardens. And, I mean, hopefully, like, if, you know, we can do this, the green team was thinking about making building a Hope Garden in the middle of the bus loop. So that way it's like front and center, everybody can see it when you come through. And we could also host that like fall planting ceremony celebration. We could have speakers, we could have music, kind of just like really get the school back together. And yeah, just be a, oh yeah, and also just another thing too is, we had a like focused learning enrichment session where students were making these like banners, and it says "Hope Happens" on it.
It's beautiful.
That's great.
And along with the photo gallery, these would just go up like all over the school, try to really set them out there so people, you know, don't feel like they're alone. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thanks, Calvin.
I'm next.
Oh, you're next. I'm glad.
She's ready.
Sorry.
Hi there, thank you. So I just wanted to give you a little more information about the exhibit itself. And I want to thank Calvin and Abby for taking the forefront here. They're joining the community Zoom meetings and everything, and we really appreciate that. And we did start through Rachel's challenge. That seemed to be a good fit for this, so that's kind of where we had the kids actually had Hattie Slayton, Annie's daughter, is one of their interns for Yellow Tulip, and she came via Zoom and talked to our Rachel's Challenge group, and that's where we started to generate, although we are opening it up to anybody in the school that wants to be part of it. So the exhibit of I Am More is so powerful. You have some samples in your packet, and there's also a digital version of it, which we have. Those photographs are professionally done and are 44 by 31. So they are going to be mounted. Ms. Olson's going to help me. They're being delivered on April 30th, 11 of them. And we're actually going to put them into the Visual Performing Arts Gallery that we have.
Oh, nice.
And so they'll be very visible and very hung the way they're supposed to be, I'll put it that way, right? And yet we wanted them protected. We didn't want to just leave them out. So there'll be a wide variety of them. You have some of them, and as I think Abby mentioned, it's a whole variety of people, and it's showing that you are more than just that label that you think you are. And there is help, and there is hope in that. So we're also going to, Mrs. Van Dorn and Mr. Betts both have taken part in the Yellow Tulip Project as well. And they provided us with curriculum. And we're going to be having the advisories, once we're back to our normal 5 days a week, that month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, go down and go through the gallery, and then go back, and there are discussion questions, I guess for lack of a better word, and we're kind of going through them. Mrs. Van Dorn is sort of vetting them down to what is reasonable to ask our teachers to talk about, and have discussions with the kids about mental illness. As we know, it's certainly been a huge concern and something we're seeing more and more, and that the kids are wanting to talk about. So the exhibit will be up for the month of May. We have it for the entire month of May. And we'll be rotating advisories through during that month as we can. The kids are already talking about creating their own exhibit for next year. Excellent. About some of them stepping out, and you know, and adults and whoever that's willing to talk about it and share and create their own, which I think is really exciting. And our Hope Garden planting, we're hoping they're going to do all the prep work. Calvin will do all the prep work. And then next October, there's a weekend that they usually do it, and we will plant our own yellow tulips to have the real deal next spring. In the meantime, we're hoping to get potted tulips or silks or something to be able to put around the building this May to bring, and it's just getting that out there. Kids are, we have things posted already. Kids are already beginning to recognize the little yellow symbol, and the more that we can encourage that, I think, so that the discussion happens will be a really good thing. So.
Absolutely.
Also, once Annie winds up, if you'd like me to answer the theater question, I'd be happy to before I leave. I didn't know where to, I don't want to do it right now. Wind up first, and then
We'll have you back up.
Okay.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to come full circle. So it's really a community effort. And I feel like, I feel really strongly about that because mental health isn't a school problem, it's a community problem. So I've also been working, as a member of the leadership team of the district. I've been communicating with Healthy Acadia to talk about how we can have conversations around mental health and so on. But we have a Yellow Tulip Ellsworth action team, and at this point it's made up of the people that have already been mentioned from the Ellsworth School Department, and then Julie Vidham from Machias Savings. I'm pretty tired, so if I leave somebody out, take it personally. Glenn Mosier. Emily Nash from Ellsworth Adult Ed, and Abby Morrow from the Ellsworth Public Library, and Tara Young from Healthy Acadia. Those are the regulars on the team. And so what we're doing is a Hope Day on the 15th at 10 o'clock. We're not sure where it's going to be because it's a little hard to know where we can have something. So I'm not even going to say where we're looking into at this point. But it's going to be at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be an hour. We're going to have some music thanks to Ellsworth High School kids and some adults in the community. Somebody's going to read a poem. We're going to have some testimonials. We're hoping to have an inspirational speaker. And the Heart of Ellsworth, Peter Leone, did I pronounce his name right? Is preparing. I just had a meeting with him this afternoon, and he's going to make a display in the J&B Atlantic building. And then the other thing that we're doing, these posters, some of this information is going to be distributed to any area businesses and organizations that would like to post it so that the community can know who supports this Smashing the Stigma. And we are going to try to find, Julie and I were putting our heads together about finding funding for silk tulips so that we can also distribute those as a symbol. And then the bigger project is getting a lot of tulip bulbs to plant gardens all over the community, which is exciting. So I think that's it. Did I miss anything? I think I covered it pretty well.
This is really exciting stuff.
Oh, I did forget one thing, sorry, Ellsworth Library is going to have critical conversations, which is sort of a protocol for conversations, which happened with Kind to Me or the Kindness Begins with Me.
Yes, Kindness Starts with Me.
It was that same kind of conversation. And so they're going to organize that probably over Zoom this spring, but looking forward to that. And but the school folks will be able to see the exhibit, so we're hoping to bring it back in, within the year to a community venue where everybody in the community can see it. Emily Nash wants it projected onto a building in the community.
That would be incredible.
We'll try to make that happen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
This is really a great project you're
Yep,
bringing
that
to
was
us.
amazing. And I gotta say, through the Dropout Prevention Committee, we've talked about this for a while now, and it's just so, it's heartwarming because if you yourself don't struggle with these things, you know someone who does. And we need students from all ages to realize that sometimes you get into a situation as an adult and you don't realize that you didn't have the support or you didn't recognize that you had some of these struggles. And so for our school department to be making kids aware is amazing. And I'm so thankful for these youth and everybody else that are going to be involved, because I think it'll be an amazing connection for all these students. So.
Another point I think that we forget to make sometimes is that this started in Aroostook County. This is like, it's
I didn't
right, it's a
really neat.
homegrown thing.
Just to correct it, it started in Falmouth.
Oh, okay, but one of the, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It started in Maine regardless. Well, because one of the other videos is all about what they did at Aroostook.
That
I
was
think
one
that's
of
where I
the
got-
first
okay.
community events, you
Yeah.
know, outside of
Yeah.
the local community,
Yeah.
but it started in Falmouth.
Yeah.
Julia's
So-
in Falmouth.
Okay.
So great. I could see this taking off like 5210, which also developed in Maine. So I just see this
Yeah.
becoming something
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really,
It's
it's such
so-
a positive
Yes.
spin on it to try to get conversations.
And it's so unifying because you just, you know,
Right.
And cheerful.
and cheerful and
Yes,
to
because
get,
it's hope.
So cheerful.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not just, oh, I have depression, I have
Right.
anxiety,
Right.
I can do something about it. So,
absolutely.
also, the last page there, I believe, I included the website, and go look at that website.
Oh, yeah.
And and the kids really like, is it the Instagram, is that what it is, Abby, that you get?
Yeah, the other Instagram has all those.
Yeah, she's been getting all
I
kinds of,
signed up for it too after I
Yeah.
really liked it.
yeah, so.
That's awesome.
And
Now,
Thank you.
is there somewhere that if people in the community in the fall want to purchase bulbs from somewhere, do they do that so that that money can go towards that cause?
So they don't do anything about money, like it's all us, so I'm working on funding it, so, and I'll communicate it through the community in lots of different ways.
And the hope is that different businesses will plant also,
Yeah,
right? That
absolutely.
it spreads and becomes a
Yes.
whole thing, so that you recognize it when you see it, yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, so I no longer have the same information I used to have, but I'll do my best regarding theater, okay, what's happening after. So tomorrow night, I believe, is the last night for filming of the one-act production that they worked on. And they actually collaborated with Jamie Anderson at HCTC, who did the filming. And they went completely out of the box of the type of thing we usually do, and they're performing in a box, because they built an actual room on the stage, the whole thing happens in a room with two different casts, so there have been two completely different filmings. So it's been a very exciting project for all of them involved. That will only be online, clearly, so, and I'm not sure how, I don't know the details of how or when, but they're trying to, Ms. Hessler in the library is also trying to help them with figuring out some ways for it to be treated as public domain. We're trying to figure out all that out. So that will be soon. The show choir has been rehearsing, and the show choir will be performing, I believe they're performing, I can't remember for sure, along with like jazz choir and jazz combo and whatnot, sometime in the end of May probably, because that has to be outdoors. It can't be inside. So they are working as well. And then we are going to have an outdoor performance that you can attend, we aren't sure how many yet, of Midsummer Night's Dream, which was the very first production that I directed 25 years ago when the building opened.
That, actually.
Right?
That's scary.
Right,
Yeah.
so we're coming full
Wow.
circle, and that was always the plan, was to produce that this year. And then, of course, we had all the challenges. So they had started working on it in the fall, and we just ran out of time between everything happening. So it's going to be quite beautiful and spectacular. There are some adults in the building, staff in the production as well, as we did with Little Mermaid, which is really fun for the kids. And we are hoping, against hope, to have some of the original cast members present from when we did it before. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, so it's very, so yes, Abby, it's all happening. It's going to be squished into one time frame. I believe that's the first weekend in June is when that's scheduled for. But don't quote me. 'Cause-
No, it's okay. It's just, I've had a couple
Yeah.
people ask.
Yeah.
And I've said, I know that as a
Yes.
board, we voted on this back
Yes.
in,
Yeah.
you know, the fall, that we were going to have the theater program, it was gonna move forward, and I've had somebody challenged me in a conversation about like, that didn't happen because it's not happening. I'm like,
Oh, no, it's all
yes, it
happening.
is.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, and
It's
so
just-
I want to get the information out there.
And it's taken much longer, too. Just like everything else, as you can
Yes.
imagine. And then you have half your cast is out quarantining or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And now you've brought things to a standstill. So it's just been a long process, but the kids have been participating and enjoying it anyway and learning.
Right.
And they, the group that is within the One Act watched this, they did an online non-competitive festival statewide, right? We didn't participate because of the project we were doing, but they were able to stream and to watch some of the other shows. It's still up, there's a YouTube, on one of the YouTube channels, they still have it, one of the sites. And then there was streaming in some other sites, so I'm on the drama committee for the MPA, and we hope that never happens again. Like, that was a one-shot deal. It was lovely, they did something, our kids got together, watched it, got to participate that way, but it was certainly not ideal for what we do, for sure.
Absolutely.
Is that good?
Yeah,
That
that's
is
great.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Midsummer Night's Dream is, it's a play that lends itself well to outdoor performance. so, Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do have just to add to, Jasmine Ireland sent a message and said, just a little clarification on events. The show choir will perform as the closer for the production of A Midsummer Night's Dream, June 4th through the 6th.
Great.
4th through the 6th.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
I know if I got there,
Right?
Thank you, Jasmine.
So it's like a 2-in-1. This is even better.
June.
Abby, Calvin, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Presenting.
Great
You guys did a
job,
great
guys.
job.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, thank you.
Good night. All right, so we are on item J2, which is update on instructional programs and return to school plans. So we'll go right through the same order. Mr. Clifford.
Just want to get my numbers updated. So yeah, right now we have 62 at full remote and 59 hybrid, and the rest coming back in person. Desks have been ordered for lunches, and so we'll have lunches in the cafeteria, cafe. Outside, we have the 10 picnic tables, so 2 students at each picnic table can sit 6 feet apart. And we have the AP room, and we may have to use half of the gym. Hopefully, we won't be able to, but won't have to, but that's a possibility. We have 75 TV trays that have come in, and they come with stands, so that we started putting those together today. And we have plenty of chairs, and so we're just getting ready. On Friday, like was said previously, it is not a student day. That is when faculty and staff will move desks into their classrooms and be ready for that following Monday. So, no, we're ready to go.
Ready to roll.
Are staff feeling excited? Can you feel kind of like that?
Yeah,
almost the beginning of the school year excitement?
Yeah, I think so. We're still planning a little bit, not as much as we were like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But yeah, no, I think people are ready and just ready to see what it's going to look like when everybody comes back.
And a whole nother generation is going to learn what a TV tray is.
That's right. That's right.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Beth.
Yeah, I don't even know if kids know exactly what they are, but they'll just.
I raised my kid right.
Yeah.
They'll know as soon as they sit down at one.
Yeah, I think that was Ray's idea. It's a good idea, and it doesn't take up
It
a
is
lot of
great.
space, and they're easy to clean and put away,
Yep.
and we can use them, years down the road.
Yeah. Spectacular.
Yep.
idea.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Great. That's great.
So that's really the update. Just
So how
getting
many
ready.
will be coming
Excellent.
back full-time? Because I know you said there's the numbers you mentioned,
Yep.
59 hybrid and.
It's about 410, right around there, about 400.
So a really large percentage are
Yeah.
coming back.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Excellent.
That's great.
That's really
Thank you
something.
very much.
Thank you.
That's very exciting.
So this past Monday, we had our 8th graders return for the very first time since last March. It was very exciting. I was up on the track with my jammy pack, dancing in the rain for them. They loved it. They were like, Miss Chi, why are you making us sit out here in the rain? But we had a great first assembly. It's the first time that the 8th grade has been together all year, so it was great. We did the kitchen, thanks to Lisa and Ray and her crew, put together a special breakfast for them to welcome them back, so that was really great. They didn't really want to eat in the rain. I don't understand these kids. I don't know. But it was great. We had a good time, and I told them that they were the only group of kids that I would ruin my hair for, so it was good. I have 3 confirmed fully remote 8th graders, so all of them came back except for those 3. 2 are kind of on the fence still. They said they were coming back, but we are still working with their parents to get them back in the building. And we welcome kids back. Some kids were ready to go, came in with excitement, said that this is the best day that they've had since last March, and they were so excited to be back in school, and other kids were very, very nervous. It certainly changed the dynamics in the classrooms, and I think we're working through some of that this week as we move through. It's kind of like the first day of school again, and kids were really nervous to combine. They really liked the smaller groups. They had a lot of trepidation, but it's going well thus far. It's only day 2 today, and today was better than yesterday. So, we're working on that. We are excited to welcome 6th grade back after break. They are planning and working really hard to get their classrooms ready, and Friday will be their non-student day along with 5th and 7th grade as well. So the only kids that will be in the middle school are the 8th graders on Friday. I just want to reiterate that for parents because I don't want it to get too confusing. And then on the May 3rd, we're planning on bringing 5th grade back. And then tentatively on May 10th, we're going to bring 7th grade back. Still working on trying to find a long-term sub. But at that point on May 10th, we will have our entire middle school back fully 5 days a week. I just want to remind parents that if you want to keep your child fully remote, please contact me. I'm going to finish up just kind of working through the 6th grade. A lot of parents have already contacted me for 6th grade, so thank you for that. And I'll continue to work through that list this week. Lunch is still a little bit of a challenge. 6th and 8th grade are overlapping a little bit with recess and lunch, so we're working through some of that and using some extra spaces. We have some space in the art room. We may use the computer lab. So we're still working through a little bit of that for the week after vacation, but I think we're going to be A-okay. This week, the kids were surprised to see 8th graders. The 6th graders are surprised to see the 8th graders out at recess with them. So we're working on some of those challenges. I just want to say a big thank you to Donnie and Chuck and their staff. Certainly busing has not been easy, but we're working through it, and Chuck and his maintenance staff and custodians are at the ready. I threw a lot at them this week. Can you move desks here? Can you go there? Can we get plexiglass? Cafeteria was an added setup and tear down for them to clean. So they've been fantastic. Like Mrs. Clifford said, she's been doing some recess duty. I've been doing some recess lunch duties. Mr. Wood as well, or chipping in. Everybody's just working really hard to make sure that this works and we can make this work. So that's kind of where we are at this point. I think we're ready. We'll be ready after vacation to welcome 6th grade back and kind of follow suit and do a welcome back for them as well. And then keep rolling. So it's very exciting.
Excellent.
So great.
Any questions?
I may have watched some of your morning meetings. And my oldest was like, Mom, are you just watching all of Miss G's morning meetings? And I'm like, they're so fun. And she was like,
We do love the morning meetings. The kids love it. That's why I do it.
And,
Yeah.
When you're working with middle schoolers, it can be a difficult time for kids, and you gotta have some fun.
That's right. That's right. That's why, they looked at me and I danced in the rain the other day. It's okay. We do what we need to do to make sure that they're okay, and they're doing really well. The 8th graders have been phenomenal. Lunch is not easy because it's still kind of quiet, and they have to sit facing the same direction. And I'm sure you've heard from some of your 8th graders potentially that it's not the lunch of old, but it's nice to be in the cafeteria. It's nice to be spread out. We put a movie on for them at lunch to just kind of give them something to entertain them, and we're working through it, so.
When this passes and they're adults, they're gonna remember Miss G's morning meetings during COVID because they.
Well, and my hope too is that they'll remember their resiliency and perseverance, because they really have, these are life skills that they're gonna take with them. And so not everything coming out of this situation and out of COVID is bad. Paul, I want to thank you for that article that you shared with me, but you know, they are resilient and they are persevering and they are working through some difficult situations, and that's going to serve them very, very well in life. So I'm very proud of them.
You are treasured, Erica, and I have to say that. Because that's above and beyond to make middle schoolers feel just so welcome back. Yeah, and that 8th grade class, because they've been so divided for such a long, you know, all of them have, but to come united together before they head off to high school, which, I mean, hopefully they'll all remain together at Ellsworth, but they may not. And so it's a great way for you to do that. It warms my heart to hear that.
Thank you
It's
very
amazing.
much.
Thank
Yeah,
you
they
so
were
much.
excited Monday for sure. So
great.
We're happy to have them back.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Thank
and
you.
they get to be king of the school on Friday.
Yeah, Friday they're there. Like it's their school Friday. So
that's
awesome.
They won't have to share the playground with it.
No, with anybody. It's all theirs. Foursquare is all theirs.
Really, you are teaching them, like, in some of these hardest moments.
Yeah.
You can laugh or you can cry.
Yeah.
And you are giving them this tool, this set of things to move forward with, because they're going to see a lot of
Absolutely.
other challenges in this world. And
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
And they'll go back and dance in the mornings.
There we
'cause
go.
they have jammy packs.
If they all dance in the mornings, then we're all set, right?
That's right.
We know where we need to go.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Mrs. Clifford.
It's a hard act to follow tonight. I don't dance, I don't have a fanny pack, but I do have glow parties, so.
You have glow parties.
Yes.
That's right.
So I just want to really thank the 4th grade team for stepping up and taking on the challenge first. I think that says a lot about them, about the love they have for their kids and the support that they recognize that the needs for kids to be back in school. So I do want to thank them publicly. I think that that's an important piece. We had a really good day. I'm going to reiterate a couple of things that Erica did. As I told you before, I did do a walkthrough as school started, so that kids could, you know, just kind of make a face. I went to the classrooms, and it's a lot different. It's a lot different. There's 18 desks in classrooms, and they're 3 feet apart. But they can't be grouped together, and so it is a little bit different than it was before with the smaller numbers. They're working on teaching routines. There's not as much flexibility to move in the classroom. It's a lot of wait your turn, or your first, your second, your third, those kinds of things, because the walkways and pathways are pretty limited with that number of kids in. 4th grade really wanted to make that work for them. They removed items from their classrooms. They removed extra tables, shelves, easels, things like that, so that they could assure that everyone that was in the cohort currently could attend. We are capped out at 4th grade. As I said before, there's anybody that new comes in has to start fully remote with Miss Brown, who's absolutely fabulous at being fully remote, but that's just, we don't have any in-person space for 4th grade. Kids had a great time, as I told you before. Recess was awesome. I've done recess yesterday and today. And they were just like, I'm like, what can we have out here that makes this better? And they're like, bubbles and chalk. And so I've got a little bit of a list going, and some cones and some ball games, and maybe if I can get another person to help with 4th grade recess, to do a little Foursquare down below. But they were really happy today. It was fun to be back. They were excited. There was chatter amongst them. It was amazing when I walked through, every student had their mask over their nose, properly worn in their seats. It was awesome to see how important that was. I could tell that teachers had already prepped the students as they came in to make sure. I'm doing walkthroughs the rest of the week, and people who are safely wearing their masks appropriately, I'm going to hand out some pencils and stuff. I had some leftovers from Halloween. So I'm excited about that for 4th grade. So that went really well. Our biggest challenge, I don't want to say that there aren't any challenge. Lunch is a huge challenge, and being 6 feet apart is a huge obstacle for us to overcome. I'm just kind of giving you an example with fourth grade. Currently, there's 2 times for fourth grade. There's the first half an hour time, and then there's the second half an hour time. Usually they did recess and lunch, and we were able to cover that with 4 people. So 4 people for lunch and then 4 people for recess. Currently, the 4 teachers cover the first session. So they cover, some go out for recess because it's half the kids, and then some do the lunch and they walk between rooms. So then I have the 4 people assigned normally to duty, and that's good, but there's this other half that has to go out to recess. So that group, there's no one for that. So that's why myself and Travis and Mr. Cushing, anybody I can find that has 15 or 20 minutes to come help me do that, that's what we're doing. So in essence, takes 6 people to cover 1 grade level, which is a lot more than what we normally have. We normally have 2 or 3 or 4, but now we have to have 6. So that's concerning. I'm just going to be honest that that's the hardest obstacle. I'm really glad that you wrote that letter, because for me, if that looked different, we're talking about that.
Yeah. Okay.
So talking about fourth grade was awesome. We're working out all those pieces with regard to the lunch coverages and all those things, but that's a moving target as it is right now at school for us. It's a jigsaw puzzle in the morning based on who's sick, who has out, who's getting vaccines, who's had a reaction. So it's a puzzle piece anyways. So I just need more people now because of the fourth grade's back. So grade 2 is kind of thinking out of the box. So I gotta put my glasses back on. So grade 2 starts back after break. Their non-student day is this Friday. In addition, for any other students, the remote students, our UA, our Unified Arts teachers, our special ed teachers, our title teachers are having their non-student day as well to prepare. So I just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that. So everyone will be in session for me, but grade 2. So it's going to be a little weird.
A little opposite from Erica. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great though. So grade 2 have been talking to me about all kinds of out of the box ideas. So like, hey, if they're trying to get all their kids to have lunch at the same time. So they're talking about ideas where if we sit on the outside of the room, there's a circumference on the room on our they have seat cushions that we all bought through the CARES Fund money. So they're talking about if we do that, can we do that if we're 3 feet apart, even though we're all around? So they're really trying to think out of the box. We're really waiting for the warmer weather to be able to use the tents. Ideally, we talked about going to the track with all of fourth grade today to eat on the bleachers, but it was gusting wind, and I thought they would be chasing lunch and not eating lunch. So we're still trying to wait for those weather pieces. I think that will make some things easier in a manner of that, but they're really trying to think out of the box, and they're working can. Second grade's ready. They're anxious about coverages and duties and specials and all those things, but they're ready to go. Their numbers are smaller. They're one of the smallest groups that we have because they have 5 teachers instead of 4. So their numbers are much more manageable. So we're excited to have that happen. So grade 3 I put out this afternoon. We hired a long-term sub. And so we're really thrilled about that. In addition, she's someone who's in our building. So that helps even more because people are more comfortable with her. Students I think will be more willing to do that. So I sent a letter out today, and I'm just going to reiterate a couple of points in that for parents. That your non-student day would be April 30th for grade 3 only. And that May 3rd, the students would begin 5 days a week. But in order to make this happen, as I put in the letter, that we need 4 students per classroom to transfer homerooms. And what we decided as a 3rd grade team to do was request parents to ask them if they were willing to have their kid transfer to, it's Jennifer Beal, to Jen Beal's classroom, that they would email me directly. So I put that in the letter, but I did want to reiterate that again for parents. For grade 3, if you're willing to have your son or daughter transfer homerooms, teachers, please email me directly. And then I'm going to give that a couple of days, and then what I'll do is I'll just start at the top of the homeroom list and look for volunteers that way until we have classes filled out.
Excellent.
But that's kind of where we are with regard to that. Grade 3 is ready to go. They have a document of questions. I'm answering to the best of my ability as we plan through. So it's been a balancing act because grade 4 is back now every day. And so we had staff that was splitting duties, the special ed staff. So we had some special ed who was offering support to a student on a maroon day and now a gray day. And what I've done is I've taken that support from one of those children, and because they're with grade 4 full time. So as I'm going through this process, I'm trying to balance all these needs of kids. And so I want to personally thank our support staff, our ed techs, because what's happening is we're having conversations and we're talking about shifting a kid here or a staff person here to a different kid to see how we can balance all those things. And so, I know that they're frustrated a little bit with that because we're having these conversations. Oh, I'm going to be with this kid. I need to prepare and get ready. Oh, wait, now I might be with this kid. I got to prepare and get ready. And it's so fluid. And honestly, it's really difficult to try to balance that because what's most important is our students' needs in our classroom.
Absolutely.
So I do want to thank them for that and their patience and their resilience and their ability to really kind of the mentality of all hands on deck because they're also covering they have more duties than they ever have had before because of the situation that we're in. I mean, everyone does, but they're definitely helping in any way that we can. I know Mr. Wood sends out an email every day. These coverages need help. People respond, and usually within the house or within the office staff, everything gets covered. We're able to do that. So I'm thankful. So I want to thank them for that, and I'm trying not to do it as much as we try to get more grade levels in, but the biggest concern is as we add more grade levels in, if I'm not able to replace staff, I feel like we're kind of a little bit stuck. So I'm going to be honest, after grade 3, I sent letters today to K and 1 parents just saying that there is no tentative date set. I'm uncomfortable setting a date because I don't have the staff and I don't want them to think that it's coming when I can't deliver that. I did have to back myself up with grade 3. I wanted to start them after break, but I needed more time to get some more support staff in place. So, that balancing act is really important, and I think it's so important for our kids. And I hope that grade 1 parents and and kindergarten parents understand that I'm trying to do what's best for their kids. Absolutely. And I know that that's not always convenient, but I've got to balance that. Their educational needs when they're here and as bringing everyone back. And we brought people back based on population and based on the ease of that. So it's not a choice. So I sent letters out today. So everyone, grade 4, K through 4 has been communicated with about when they're expecting, when the non-student days are, and if there's no tentative date. Okay. So I have not hired a grade 1 long-term sub. And I have not hired all the support staff that we need. I've done interviews all week. I've had 4 interviews this week and 2 for long-term subs, so I'm working through the process. But as I said before in our parent advisory meeting, that I'm really want to put people in our school who are credentialed and who are going to have a positive impact on our school climate. So to me, that's most important.
How many ed techs are you looking for, April? Do you recall?
To make it all work, I need 7. What did you say, Carol Ann? To bring everyone back full time, I need 7.
Pending what happens with the ones this week, 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would be for the remaining K1, okay.
I think we could probably make it work with 5, depending on how some meetings go this week and some other pieces. But to me, I've got to meet their needs, and that's the most important. Absolutely. Even when they're in school, whether it's in a hybrid schedule or a 5-day-a-week schedule, we've got to meet student needs, and that's the most important. Okay. So I am doing everything I can to make that work. I do want to mention, too, the life skill students are starting back after break. We haven't done that yet, but
that's coming.
It's coming in a minute. Yeah, but that's very exciting. They're ready to go. I sent that communication today, and then they're doing follow-up conversations. So
great.
Yeah, it's really good.
And have you had a lot of volunteers come back? Like, have you reached out to?
I just started to get the list today because I started to get a better idea. I kind of wanted to go through grade 4 to see what it would look like for me. I wanted to talk to Mrs. Russell about, do we want to deliver lunches? What's going to work best for the kind of, I hadn't seen it, today I sat through the 11:40 time, which is the busy time in the cafeteria. So I hadn't had my eyeballs on that stuff, but I'm gathering all that information and will be calling. I see myself hopefully starting to make calls at the end of this week, and probably Mr. Clifford and I are going to take a couple days off, and then probably the end of next week to try to get some people in to help support that. That's their biggest need, is the lunch duties. I'm comfortable teachers are willing to do recess duty at any time, but just to be able to provide them their lunch that they need.
Lunch break.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That actually leads into my question. you talked about lunch and recess, fourth grade. What times are you talking about? If you needed to volunteer for that, what time would you need that volunteer to be there? From what time to what time?
We need volunteers from, I would say, 11 to 12:45. That's the biggest bulk of our time. Would you disagree?
10:30.
10:30, yeah, because we're going to start earlier. The more kids in, we'll have to start earlier with recess.
And you need that 5 days a week.
I need that 4 days a week for sure. Fridays are a little bit easier because we're dismissed at 12:30, and teachers are often, they'll do their pieces and then have their lunch before the PLC starts. So teachers have been really flexible about that, and I'm thankful for that. But really, the biggest need is Monday through Thursday.
And we are starting to get some applications in for subs.
Oh, yeah.
Turning them around quickly, which is good.
Yeah.
And actually, we had one, Mr. Wood, he's not here tonight, but he submitted a name for a volunteer at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We had the check back on that person by 3:20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're starting to move more quickly.
It's somebody that I wanted to turn away because he's a Red Sox fan and he taught here for 45 years, but we decided to approve him.
Oh, I know exactly who you mean. That was not.
No, it's not Dave Stackpole. Hi, Dave.
Great.
I just really
Great.
wanted to make sure that parents knew where we were coming from and that how important it was that we address the needs that were there, and that the students' education and social emotional health are at the priority of all the decisions that we're making. And I know that if you're in first grade and kindergarten, I mean, those are the hardest ages because they're the youngest ages, and I empathize and I understand,
Right.
but I also can't bring kids back when I don't have the support for them.
Yep, absolutely.
So-
Yep.
When we were on our way to baseball practice. When
You got
your
my
phone
call?
came in, so it was on my hands-free in my car, and I had one very excited boy to hear you say that, because he's in third grade, so he was like, when? He was reading that, so.
I called, I said it was me. Hi, it's Principal Clifford. Grade 3 is going to start on May 3rd. 5 days a week. You know what I mean? I did that kind of message, so.
Oh, he was pumped.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, April.
All right, thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you,
Do you have
April.
a question?
No, I'm gonna email you.
Okay, perfect.
I emailed him too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, no, go right ahead.
I think, just to add one thing, and I would be remiss if I didn't, and that probably applies to all of us, is that the teachers have been working really hard, and I want to thank them too, because it's taking a lot for them to organize, rearrange their schedules, rearrange their classrooms, and get everything ready to go. And, they've been giving up some of their lunch and free time and weekends and things like that to do this. So thank you to the teachers and the support staff, the ed techs. April's right. So it's been a complete team effort, and I just want to make sure that the community understands how hard everyone is working. So even when pieces aren't quite falling into place for,
That's right.
K1 and 7th, we're working on it. So,
Yep.
and we'll keep working on it. So.
Thank you, Erica.
That's all we can ask, right? Thank you.
So just a couple of updates on HCTC. First, last week I got the call from Mr. Tripp that RSU 25 has also voted to return to school after vacation. So Bucksport High School students that had been attending 2 days a week will be attending 4 days a week starting after vacation, which we're really, really excited about. The one thing, though, that I think people need to remember is at HCTC, we still are managing 4 to 5 cohorts because of the differing schedules at the high schools, which has really complicated clinical hours and figuring out those kinds of things for teachers. So we still have the 100% remote kids, hybrid Ellsworth kids that are remaining hybrid. And then Sumner attends 4 days a week, but their off day is Wednesday and Bucksport's off day is Friday. So super fun. So what we're doing is staff are rearranging classrooms again to accommodate the Bucksport students. And we have not pushed remote kids yet to come back full-time. We want to absorb the Ellsworth kids that are moving from hybrid to 5 days a week because we had a lot stay hybrid. Now that younger siblings are going back to school, we know that some are going to return. So we want to absorb those kids and we want to absorb Bucksport and get a better handle on spacing, how we're going to set up classrooms, how we're going to set up live work for kids and still maintain all the guidelines. And then we'll work on trying to bring some of the 100% remote kids back. There are not many. I want to say a dozen total for the school, which isn't a ton, but we'd love to get them back if we can. But we feel like we need to accommodate these other kids first before we make a full push for those kids. The only other hiccup we're continuing to encounter is my poor CNA kids. Keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping. The plan right now, the nursing homes hit pause on clinicals for us for the month of April because they're very concerned about the rising cases in young people countywide, not just Ellsworth, in all of our schools. And so they hit pause, rightfully so. We are going to do a round of COVID testing with the nursing facilities Monday after break and get all of our kids tested again, and with the hopes that we will start clinicals, and we'll probably have to do clinicals 4 days a week the month of May, which we can accommodate curriculum-wise because we pushed as much curriculum as we could in the beginning in anticipation of this possibly happening. But even then, we may be short some hours and looking at having to do some 8-hour days or weekend days, which Michelle and Joy are always wonderful about giving up time to do that. So we'll do our best, but we're kind of at the mercy of them taking us and completing those hours for them. So other than that, businesses, we've started slowly integrating kids into internships in all of our programs, depending on the business's willingness to work with us on our protocols and follow our guidelines as well as us with them. So that's been good. But other than that, we're kind of business as usual. The Monday after break will definitely be the first week where we're really more at capacity than we have been with the return of Bucksport and with the return of some of the Ellsworth hybrid kids coming back 5 days. So we're excited, they're excited. They've been working on moving their labs around because, of course, most of our programs have classroom and lab space, so they have additional space than the traditional classroom setting. So we're ready to go. We're happy to have these kiddos back from Bucksport for sure.
Does that change the welding program over at Bucksport? Do the kids
So,
from Ellsworth?
yes.
Yeah.
So, welding.
Because I know they had some spacing.
Yes.
concerns.
Well, the problem with welding is the booths and the spacing and the transportation within the welding lab. Our plan right now is to get the kids 4 days a week. They've been doing 3. We will send non-Bucksport kids Monday through Thursday, 4 days a week. So our Ellsworth kids will get an increased day, 4 days a week. And it means, I'm going to talk to Mr. Clifford. After talking to Mr. Tripp today, our Ellsworth High School kids could attend the full day at Ellsworth High School on Fridays. And we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with those kids for those couple of hours. That was a new development this afternoon. So Mr. Tripp and I are kind of working through each individual high school because we have students from Deer Isle, GSA, Sumner, and Ellsworth that go to welding and that we transport. So it's kind of a lot of moving pieces and figuring out, since they're closed on Fridays after break, it used to be that they took a group, even though they were closed, they actually still opened for welding. They're now, with their agreement, going to shutter down on Fridays completely. So we're trying to balance that. So those kids won't get 5 days a week of welding, but they'll go from 3 to 4 days,
Which
which
will help
is
their hours. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, and they'll be okay. They'll be okay
with ours.
certification-wise. If they put their pedal to the metal in that lab, Joel.
And moving forward to make all of this happen. You know, we've all known all along how great a staff we have here. If this just doesn't exemplify it, I don't know what else does. But thank you very much, folks. You guys are amazing, as are all your staff members in your schools.
Top
Fantastic.
I have one question that came in. Somebody wanted to know if 6th grade could bring in beach towels that they could store in their locker for sitting and eating outside.
So something else that I probably forgot to mention is we're getting picnic tables as well. And so I don't know if the beach towels will be needed once we're able to have the outdoor seating availability. We have been talking about different ways to bring chairs out or like maybe storing some like camp chairs. So stay tuned on that. I'm not sure yet. Maybe the very first day because they needed the towels. 8th grade needed some towels and blankets to wipe off the wet bleachers. So
That's a good,
stay tuned. Probably the first day would be okay, but probably not something we want left in the lockers. To be honest with you, it would probably be something that they have to travel back and forth because we're sanitizing the lockers each afternoon.
but do you think it'd be a good idea if you've got a middle school kid to maybe start sending with a beach towel just for wiping down like the bleachers to sit down and stuff like that?
Potentially. I mean, I'm hoping that we won't have to wipe them down that much. The sun is going to be shining and
Right.
everything is going to be perfect. That's
Right.
that's that's where I live in the rosy world. That's my Pollyanna. But there may be some need for that. But they would have to transport it back and
Yeah.
forth. They can't leave it in the locker because we need to sanitize each night.
But maybe instead of our winter gear, we can start sending
Yes,
beach towels.
yes. Start sending beach towels.
That's good. Okay, good to know.
Thank you. Is that all of the presentations for update on instructional programs?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I do have a quick comment
Sure,
that we've
please.
received from, I think it's Kirsten Jester.
Yes.
She says, "This teacher is so happy to have the mystery volunteer approved today. This fabulous teacher was such a help to our biggest 8th grade unit of the year. He was such a support last year. I'm so excited to have him back this year, and the kids will be thrilled. I can't wait to see their faces tomorrow. Thank you to the board for allowing volunteers."
That's awesome.
Truth be told, on that volunteer, he actually is paying us to come in. Revenue source.
It's a fee, huh, Mr. Stackpole? All right, so item J3, update on end-of-year event planning. We can go down through the same
Go through the same order.
order.
Here we go again.
So yeah, let me go back to my dates.
So you covered this a little bit, but.
Yeah,
And the young lady who asked the question wasn't on here when you mentioned it, but I did email her and tell her what you
oh, okay.
you had said was
Sure.
there.
Yeah, so end of year dates, right now, so we're looking to, finalize the, when the, tent will be here, and it's 60 by 150.
Wow.
So it's a big part of the parking lot. And as far as things going on in there, so Saturday, May 29th, 7 to 10 p.m., that is when we plan to have the prom there.
Saturday, May 29th?
Yep,
Just gonna write that down.
7 to
Finish
10
report.
p.m. Thursday, June 3rd, that is when we plan to have class night in there. And I'm not exactly sure what that's gonna look like yet, as far as parents coming and things like that. We gotta have some more discussions. I'm not gonna talk about the parade yet, because I haven't talked to the police to see if we can have that, but we do wanna have that, at some point during that week. The best time to do that is have the parade and they drive right to Ellsworth High School and end it, and then we walk right in and do class night.
That would be awesome.
That's what we're hoping to
That'd
do,
be
so
so
everything
nice.
is on that same night.
That
And
parade
that's
was so
some, the
fun.
parade went so well last year,
It
that's something we
did.
wanna do every
Yeah.
year.
So
And the
fun.
kids really enjoyed
What a
that.
great way to celebrate
Mm-hmm.
for everyone in the community, even if you don't have a child in school,
Yeah,
to be able to
I couldn't believe the
celebrate them.
turnout.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
It was terrific.
Everybody was
It
excited.
was wonderful.
And Friday, June 11th, at 11 p.m. is the outdoor graduation at Del Luz Stadium.
Oh, wonderful.
And that is the plan right now, and those are the dates. But we do have we plan on having the tent for about a week. And there'll be other activities, National Honor Society induction, which we haven't had yet. We want to do it in person there. Amy's talked about having her awards night there, so almost every single night there's going to be something going on in that
Excellent.
tent, so it'll be well worth the money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's awesome. Exciting.
Will it be in the parking lot, is that what you said?
Yeah, the junior parking lot by the football
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
over there.
So I have some questions from parents already about, they're saying that they're only going to allow 2 tickets for a kid per child for graduation?
Oh, no, that hasn't been
Okay.
decided at all. No.
Okay. Is it
It really
looking like it's
depend-
going to be that way?
It really depends on how many are allowed on the soccer field area. because at that time, it's 100% capacity, but we don't know the capacity yet. And that is either through the police or fire department, we're not sure
Capacity-
yet who
capacity-
decides on the capacity.
Capacity of the bleachers is one thing, but the capacity of Del Luz Stadium
Yeah.
is the other piece, so.
Right.
We
Yeah,
just want
the-
to make sure we go through all the proper channels
graduates-
to establish that.
Yeah, the graduates will be in the stands, and there's enough room for them, we know that. And then, family members will be situated on the soccer field or throughout the stadium. And so, but we don't know the capacity, so it totally depends on that.
How many seniors are there?
105. Yep.
Excellent.
So it's a smaller class, which is kind of good.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
for
right.
this
That's
year,
the
it is.
year.
Right.
There's
Well,
the year
we'll
to
have
have
to
a smaller
class.
senior class.
It
Thank
is.
you for now.
Yeah.
So who is on the committees to form like the prom plans and graduation plans?
So prom plans is the junior class advisor, Stephanie Magruder. But we're also including this year's senior class too, and their advisor Jen Bernhardt, because they couldn't put on the prom last
Right.
year. So we're working together with them for the prom. As far as graduation, it's really been myself and Mrs. Wright and Mr. Frost, just organizing what it's gonna look like for right now. Yep.
And that's typical, I mean, that's how you.
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
When do you think we are going to have a finalized idea of the graduation ceremony?
Within weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, within weeks. But the big decision is how many we allow onto the soccer field. That's
Right.
the biggest thing, and, we could have pods of 5, there could be a family of 5, there could be a family of 2, there could be, it really depends on, we're looking at parents first and then immediate family possibly. I don't know if we can go above that or not. I'm not sure.
I guess it all depends on whose
Right.
family is in the area and that sort of
Right.
thing. Is it something you're gonna be able to live stream, do you think, Dan?
Oh, yeah, we can, because that's already set up, because we live stream the soccer games.
Yeah.
Yeah, right from the same area.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, we will definitely do that. Mhm.
When do you think we'll have like a finalized idea about prom?
The same thing within weeks. We will have that completed before graduation, because that's a little earlier and kids need to plan.
So do you think before our next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So we
could
have the
you-
date, we have the tent, we have the facilities. There's just a couple more decisions that need to be made.
Like
Yep.
those porta potties.
Like what?
Like porta potties.
Those porta potties.
Hey, girls
We gotta
will be
get
dressed in
classy
something
porta potties if they're out there.
They are out there.
Because
They-
no one
yes,
wants to go
right.
in one of those little tiny
No,
houses
no.
in a big, pretty dress.
No, we wouldn't do that.
I think that's
You
great.
can decorate porta potties.
Right?
Yeah.
They
Some
do.
Christmas
We had it at our
lights.
wedding.
Yes.
I do
And
have a
beautiful.
question for you, Dan, from Danielle Mercier.
Mhm.
Mercier.
Will juniors and/or seniors be able to invite a guest from another school? Like
Yeah,
a
and,
date?
and I've been asked that by some students, and I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
That's something I gotta research, and
Okay.
Mr. Higgins and I need to talk about that, and, yeah.
What would be the hangup to not invite them, I guess, is, what
The
is
number of people, I think, probably.
Yeah, number of people, and, I was looking at reasons too. I think reasons to invite them is, to me, it's kind of like the same, like our boys' baseball team hosted Bangor High School today. So there were 20 Bangor High School kids on our campus next to our kids.
Right.
So I kind of look at it the same as that. So if a kid from Bangor wants to come to our prom,
Well, yeah, I mean, traditionally, if you go to the school, you have the right, and you're in that year, you get to go to the prom and you get to bring
Yep.
Date.
whomever. I know this is a COVID year, but so long as I would think it's about numbers, and if we have,
Mhm.
we have the numbers, I can't see what the objection would be to not bring in, to not allow people to bring a date that happens to be in another school. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
and this is something that people are coming to me with concerns, and it is something that I really have to say, I'm hoping we have a very definitive answer to nail down before our next meeting.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think that the board needs to hear the bigger details. I think the board needs to vote on them, and I think we need to think about, what are the parameters of cancellation before our next meeting. because I think our parents need to have a very clear, I hate to say it, but prom and graduations are a large financial investment to families. And if they're going to be buying dresses and renting tuxes, or family members are potentially going to be traveling from out of state to see a family member graduate, we need to know what are those parameters for that. Are we going to allow somebody who's been from out of state to come onto campus for graduation?
Right.
You know, we need to have that information so our families know what they can and cannot plan for, what they should be planning for. And they need to know that far in advance and not at the last minute.
Yep.
And the same thing with cancellations. They need to know under what conditions could this possibly be canceled under, because they need to know what that risk is to that cancellation. It needs to be in black and white.
Yep.
I think out of all those things, Abby, the travel piece is probably the easiest because there are guidelines that are in
Guidelines
place.
to it, yeah.
That's one piece with people coming from out of state. As
Right.
far as the proms and so forth, I think Dan makes a great point. You know, it's a matter of spacing, it's a matter of numbers, and it's a matter of people following the guidelines. So, but I agree with Dan, I think it's approaching it from, how do we make this happen?
Yeah. Especially with so many schools that maybe you have a best friend who would go with you to, as your date, and their school isn't having a prom, so it's almost like you can kind of.
Yeah, and I think like, I mean, when you're talking about numbers, the important piece is if it may end up having to be, you know, buy that ticket on a first come, first serve if there's someone coming from another school, because
Sure.
that could tip a balance of numbers, and you want to make sure our students that are currently in
Right.
have the opportunity to go, so.
Yep, absolutely.
I do have a question for you,
Yeah.
Dan, from Kimberly Fitch. She's wondering if there is a rain date scheduled for graduation.
So Friday night is always our graduation. If we didn't have it Friday, just looking at the weather, we'd have it the next day, either in the afternoon or at night, depending on.
Okay, and she
based
said,
on
is wondering what time graduation is going to be on June
6
9th.
o'clock.
Okay, 6
Yep,
o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Are all of our sports for the rest of the year in play at the moment?
Yep,
Okay, so there's
Yep.
nothing new coming up, everybody's in place, everything is
yeah,
functioning?
yeah. They'll be
Okay.
playing for regional championships and state championships, and, yeah, the kids are excited about that.
That's wonderful. Do you need any more volunteers for things like theaters or anything else? Like, as these things come up, are you guys fully stuffed?
We need, well, no, it's good you said that. I don't know about the specific events. We will need volunteers for lunch.
Okay. What
Yep.
time is your lunch?
So 10:30, and we have 3 lunches in a row, and the last one ends at, it's about 11:45. Because we're gonna probably have lunch in 4 different spaces. And usually, Mr. Frost, myself, and Mrs. Wright, we have lunch duty, but there's only 3 of us, and there's 4 spaces, so
Yeah.
we do
Then
need
cloning would
one
be
more, at least,
Right,
at
Okay.
least.
great.
So high school lunch. Do you need one this Friday? Or
No.
Okay. Good.
No, no
Oh,
school
that's right.
Friday.
What am I thinking? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, but starting the week after break, we will need them.
Okay.
Yep,
5 days a week.
5 days a
Okay,
week.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm,
Great.
All right.
for sure.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Dan.
Thank
Okay.
you
Thanks,
so
Dan.
much.
Thanks, Dan.
Jen, should we ask for consensus to go beyond 8 o'clock?
Oh, yep, I'm sorry. We are at 8:10. Does the board agree to continue?
I'm good with it.
All right?
Yeah.
Thank you. We do have to get April to the store by
I know.
the time Walmart closes.
I'll be quick.
So we don't have any scheduled dates yet. We are just in the process of working with some of the dates and barring any nor'easters, Mr. Higgins.
You won't need beach towels to clean off the bleachers, you'll need a shovel.
Yeah, there you go. So we were just kind of waiting for that. I typically don't set the date for our 8th grade promotion night until after April break, just to be sure that we don't have any nor'easters coming. But probably looking right around the 14th, I'm hoping to kind of play off of the high school graduation and keep some chairs in place at Deluz Stadium so that we can do something similar. We have talked with kids a little bit about what they want their end of the year activities to look like, given that there are some certain guidelines that we have to follow still, even with being outdoors. And they've talked about, playing music and being on the field up at the track and bringing in some food trucks and doing activities like tie-dyeing shirts and just having some various outdoor activities. So those are the things that we're looking at and going to be talking with kids about. This week, actually, I sent an email to 8th grade, so capitalizing on some of that time on Friday to talk with kids about that. So
Excellent.
we're still working on some of those pieces. I also talked with Mr. Downs today about field days for our kiddos, because I just don't know how feasible field trips are going to be at the end of this year. We typically usually do an end of the year field trip with kids, but I don't think that that's going to be in the realm of possibility. So we're looking to make field day really fun for them and get them together once we get in the back of the swing of things. So Mr. Downs has some great ideas that we worked on this afternoon and we talked about a little bit. So we'll be scheduling some of those ideas for each grade level as well. But I don't have any dates for you tonight, but it is something that's in progress and we are talking about and we are working on.
Excellent.
Great.
And
That sounds like so much fun with like food trucks and.
Yeah, so we brought in food trucks a
That
couple
would
of
be
years
so
ago,
fun.
and the kids loved it. They loved.
Yeah,
We brought an
that's
ice cream
awesome.
truck
Yes.
and food truck, and so it was just great. And it's an easy it's the safe way to
outside.
serve the kids and things like that. So
And you'll have some picnic tables out there.
yes, we'll have picnic tables. So
Bring a beach towel.
yeah,
shovel
it
to
should
sit on.
be a good time for 8th grade. They are pretty excited about some of those possibilities. So we're still working on some of the details, the finer details, but we've got some things floating around for sure.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Thank you very
Abby,
much.
did you have a question?
Hypothetically, it happened on that day to be about 6 o'clock in the evening, usually, or not?
That's still up in the air.
Okay.
And
No
only because we've thrown some things out about maybe that morning kids, the 8th grade kids coming in and doing what they need to do in their classrooms and then having maybe like a midday ceremony, promotion ceremony, and then having their activity night go until 6 o'clock. So having food trucks in the afternoon till 6 o'clock, and then they can spend the evening with their families because we're not sure that we're going to be able to get all the families in, like the extended family.
Right.
So kind of rearranging in that way. My my teachers don't want to do a drive-up ceremony again, and I can't say that I blame them. We vowed not to do that. It was great. It was fantastic, but we vowed not to do it again. So, we're looking at some different options. So I don't want to commit to a time yet.
No problem.
But just kind of trying to work with families too and polling families as well to see if that's something that would work for them. And then keeping the kids for their activity, last dance type of kind of combining it all in one so that we can kind of give them a good celebration as they move to high school. So
Excellent.
Sounds like fun.
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Was that quick enough, Mrs. Cleveland?
I just have two things to add to that. Mr. Norwood is planning field days as well, and we are looking to host the bike rodeo again. with Rotary. So those are two things that we talked about this week, and we decided to move ahead forward with. So those are two pieces. So that's it for me.
She's got bubbles to buy, guys.
Right? So for HCTC, we have a few different things. So for us, I meet with high school principals Thursday, and I'm going to get an update from each principal on their dates for end of the year because I schedule my awards around their awards so that we don't duplicate. And also, I start losing Deer Isle Stonington earlier than the other high schools. They end school earlier. So making sure that the night that Mr. Clifford has graciously said we could use the tent at the high school also works with them. So our plan would be we would do our annual end of the year senior celebration with our MELMAC grant funding where we do a big barbecue or serve lunch to the seniors and we do a bunch of gifts to help them, whether it be stuff for dorm rooms, things of that sort. So we do that with our seniors on site at school outside. And then we do our NTHS induction ceremony and our awards night. Typically that is at Ellsworth High School. It's the largest space we have. So we would do that under the tent, and it's proposed Tuesday, June 1st, which is pretty much in line with what we've done previous years where I do that Tuesday night and then the high school follows up with class night 2 nights later. And we do Ellsworth, we participate in that and do awards for kids at that event as well. So I think that we'll be able to do both things. It's just a matter of timing. And we'll be in the same situation as Mr. Clifford. What is the capacity outside how many kids are we honoring, and then how many family members can come, so that we can communicate with the sending school families. And then we're also talking about, we always have a lot of business people that attend and guests that attend. Are we going to limit that so that more families can come, but then when they're giving your kids $2,000 scholarships, how do you say they? So there's a lot of different moving parts that we're going to work on and figure out, but those are our tentative plans right now. And like Mr. Clifford, we'll probably be able to firm those up over the next couple of weeks as the high schools finalize their plans.
Super.
As well.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I also want to come to your barbecue. That sounds like.
Everybody has a great time at the end of the year.
So the end of year event for us is graduation. We always have it the Monday after the high school graduation. So we were planning to do that. Last year we did something, it wasn't quite a drive-up graduation. It was a 6-hour graduation. And people signed up for 20 minutes. And it actually worked out really well. Because at graduation, we have one person who has worked really hard, and we wish she could have the big, huge graduation. But for the most part, we felt like this was more personal and more, we got to engage with families and tell them what great human beings they had, to their allies. I call them allies, people who support the students. And so I think we're going to do the same thing again. Our conundrum is where to do it. We did it outside when we were in the back at the University Center. But cars in the front, it would be great because it'd be really visible, but cars just fly through that parking lot.
So loud too.
And so I don't feel comfortable doing that. So I'm not sure. I have an inquiry into Knowlton Park, which would be beautiful, and it has the covering if it was raining, and we have a small tent. But they weren't, when I checked in March, they weren't sure what the COVID situation was. But we'll find a location, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to try to do a large event this year. Next year we hope to resume that, but
Excellent.
I think that makes sense. So that's our
Great.
plan.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.
So that's all of the updates on J3, correct?
That is.
All right. So J4 is board acknowledgement of personnel committee action on behalf of the board in confirming a teacher nomination.
Yes, Personnel Committee met on April 8th. Paul, Kelly, do you want to take this, or do you want me to take it?
You can go ahead. If you
All right, thanks. I'll do it.
Sure.
Personnel Committee met on April 8th, and one of the things that they did was consider a nomination for a K-4 special education teacher in the life skills room. You heard Mrs. Clifford talk about the life skill kids being able to come back after vacation. So Personnel Committee did confirm my nomination of Amber Kirby as the K-4 special ed teacher, life skills, first-year probationary contract for the balance of the 2020-21 school year. Amber is no stranger to us. She currently works for us, has been with us for a number of years, but she has a degree from the University of Maine at Farmington in early childhood special education and a minor in child and adolescent health. As an EdTech 3, she worked under Mrs. Merrill's supervision and facilitated the remote learning program for all students in the life skills room. She also partnered with families and their parents to ensure that all students had access to remote programming. She's taken additional coursework to prepare for a full-time teaching position, and currently she's taking a class on writing IEPs. You have to do that in special ed, right, Lisa? Okay.
Just a couple.
But her demeanor with students and her ability to quietly lead make her an outstanding addition to the special ed department. So what we're looking for the board to do tonight is to formally acknowledge the action of the Personnel Committee of confirming Amber Kirby as our new special ed teacher, K-4 Life Skills.
Excellent. I'll make a motion to acknowledge the April 8th, 2021 Personnel Committee confirmation of the superintendent's nomination of Amber Kirby to a first-year probationary contract for the 2020-2021 school year.
I second it.
Any discussion?
I would just like to state that when I was the health manager at CFO, Amber was a classroom teacher there, and she was absolutely amazing.
Great.
She was a joy to work with.
That's awesome. Welcomed her. All those in favor? 5-0.
Excellent.
Welcome to Amber. Thank you. We do not need item, which is now J5.
Could I just make one comment to our Personnel Committee? Watch your emails over the next couple of days. It's entirely possible I'm going to ask you to come meet with me maybe 15, 20 minutes before the bargaining session, because we may have 1 or 2 teaching candidates for you.
Great.
So,
Excellent.
fingers crossed.
Very good.
Can you do 15, 20 minutes before the
Oh,
meeting?
yeah.
Okay, all right. Stay tuned.
Item J6 is consideration of extending the COVID-19 leave procedure, which we have gone over previous.
Yeah, you as a board approved this back in February. It replaced the FFCRA. It has worked well. I think at that time we weren't sure if the law was going to change or circumstances are going to change, but it has worked well for us. For the most part, it's had minimal impact. We've had staff who have been out who have been able to work remotely. So my recommendation is that you extend it through the balance of the school year.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension of the ESD COVID-19 leave procedure through the end of the student year.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0.
Outstanding.
And item J7 is the FY22 budget update.
Can I do this in 7 minutes, people?
I bet you can. Do it. Well, I don't know, it's a lot.
Okay. What I've got for you tonight, folks, is it's an update of what we talked about at the last budget workshop that we had. What you'll see is, and did you get the update this afternoon I sent to you? Okay, good. Just want to cover a few things, and I will try to run through them. Much of it mirrors what was presented to the council last evening, but it would be a good update for the full board, and for people that don't tune into the council meetings or council workshops who are tuned in tonight, they'll get this update. So just to talk, this is a current update on the status of the proposed FY22 ESD budget, and this includes all work and adjustments through today. Actually, I should say through about 3 o'clock today. We have a couple that are coming that didn't get in yet, but stay tuned. But included in this, a couple of things to note. Figures for the state subsidy and debt service reimbursement reflect the Maine legislature's April 5th approval of the state budget. So those numbers are solid. Projected tuition revenues for Ellsworth High School and for HCTC, the student assessment, may change a little bit. You know, the recruiting process, even though both Dan and Amy did a great job of it this year with their staff members, it's taken a little bit longer and extended a little bit further. You heard Amy talk about her numbers tonight. She's got a spreadsheet that she updated today. That may change a little bit, and I know there's still students registering at the high school, Dan? Yeah. So that's not 100% finalized. Projections for fund balance and reserves are based upon projections, okay? And will be updated upon receipt of the final FY20 audit and an update that Carolyn will do to our projected anticipated end-of-year balances. So just bear that in mind as we talk about that. We continue to review the proposed expenditures for items eligible for funding under the ESSER fund allocation, okay, federal monies. As in past years, this is always one of our favorite things to do. Hopefully we have some time to do it. We always do a nickel and dime exercise prior to completing the final budget presentation to you guys for approval. And that's where we go through line by line and say, what do the historical pieces look like? Can we do something here? Most often it results in some lines going down, some lines going up, but it's a good process. We talked about this at the last meeting. Areas of focus for this budget include staffing to meet enrollment shifts, trends, and student needs, particularly in a pandemic world. Address increased needs for students, and you've heard a lot of the talk about it tonight with the Yellow Tulip Project. You've also heard Carol Ann and other staff members talk about it in other meetings. Trauma, social and emotional needs, mental health of our students. That's part of this. The proposed addition of the new program for HCTC cybersecurity, and obviously ongoing support for our facilities and maintenance plan. So if you want to follow along, board members, spreadsheet that you've got, and again, this didn't change from what I sent to you yesterday before the council other than the date. You want to make sure you get the proper date on it. Just to run through, so from our ED 279, which is the state subsidy report, and you should be looking down at the bottom half of this. First thing we want to look at is the mill rate expectation, or it's called the required local contribution. This is the amount of money that we have to raise as a community in order to get our full state subsidy. That's based upon a mill rate set by the Department of Education and the state applied against a 3-year average valuation of the city of Ellsworth. The required mill rate went from 8.12 mils to 7.9 mils, meaning a reduction of just over $82,000 in what we need to raise locally. Okay. Pre-K through 12 subsidy, and this is funding to support our pre-K through 12 regular ed programs, increased by $161,679.07. Okay. CTE subsidy also increased from FY21 by $49,633.21. Now, that includes $69,640 to support the new cybersecurity program. So those funds were included. The DOE made that correction. So those numbers are pretty well set. As far as tuition, and the lines that we'll be talking about are two. It's the line that says tuition, and it's the line that says CTE assessment. Right now, based upon registrations at the high school, projection of students who are continuing at the elementary, middle school, and our 3-year averages of special education tuition revenues, increase of $111,903.48. That's a healthy increase. And again, I'm being optimistic. I know the last time I spoke with Mr. Clifford, he was talking of numbers in the 40s for out-of-district students. I think this reflects 36 students. So hopefully we'll see that go up a little bit. That would be helpful. The CTE assessment also shows an increase from FY21 of $116,744. The thing that I want you to be cognizant of, that is a figure that represents the difference between the current budget of HCTC and what we receive for state subsidy. And that's divided on a per pupil rate between all of the school departments, including Ellsworth, that send students to HCTC. Last year, we applied funding from the fund balance to offset that, and that was a 0. That's why you see such a large increase there. The other figures that you look at on the lower half of that, we'll touch the additional local a little bit later. We'll touch the fund balance in just a minute. But the food service allocation is the amount of money that would be contributed by the city to support the food service operation. That's not raised budget. That's closer to $770,000. The $281,000 for adult education, that is the city's contribution to support the adult education budget. Those both show increases right now, and I'll talk about where we are with those in a few minutes. Debt service reimbursement, you're going to see that has decreased by over $100,000. Again, that's because the interest payments on your debt service are decreasing. Non-state funded debt service, you see that's an increase of $549. That's the amount of money that we pay. It's a local-only debt service to fund the geothermal system at EEMS. The miscellaneous revenue line at the bottom, that includes state agency clients, that includes funding that we receive from the Hancock and Lemoyne school departments, and any other miscellaneous revenues that we have. Right now, that's showing a $245,000 amount. It's a $10,000 decrease, and one of the reasons is annually we typically get some revenues from gate receipts from activities that take place at the high school. Obviously, with no fans this past year, we didn't have any of those, so we're not going to look at having any of those next year. Bear with me on this next piece, because fund balance can get very tricky. Fund balance can get sometimes not easy to understand. In essence, fund balance is the amount of money that you have left over at the end of your budget year. When you look at what your projected revenues were, your anticipated expenses, what's left over is the amount there. And it's an ongoing long-term running total. I stress to you that this is based upon a couple of things. One is projections, because we don't know what the end of this year is going to look like. It's also based upon a projection of the June 30th, 2020 balance. Right now, we do not have the final audit yet. So these are numbers that Carolyn has been working on, and hats go off to Carolyn. She's really done some great work on this. But as of June 30, the balance unaudited in the general fund was $3.117 million. As we approved the budget last year, we applied $1.32 million to offset expenditures in the budget. That was a significant increase from the previous year. The reason we were able to do that is because with the closure of school to in-person instruction at the end of last year, we had much more money left over. So we felt comfortable increasing that amount. Okay. What that left after doing that was an available amount of $1.797 million. Okay. So as for FY20, what Carolyn did is run through and do an anticipated balances. This is on revenues, and this is on expenditures. What she's projecting for the end of FY20 is approximately just over $2 million to be in that balance at the end of FY20. And again, that's because through the course of this year, there have been a number of places where we did not expend funds. You've heard about the positions we've not been able to fill. And when you look at the wages and benefits for med tech positions, teaching positions, even though in some cases we have substitutes, it leaves a lot of money over. What that leaves is a total undesignated amount of $3.826 million. So because we are anticipating having a significant additional amount left over this year, Right now, the recommendation is to have $1.8 million applied out of the fund balance to offset proposed expenditures. Again, that's an increase of almost $500,000. But based upon where we are with the finances, and as we walk through the rest of this, hope it'll become clear, it makes sense to do that. But I will stress, last year it went to 1.32 million from about 900,000. This year it's going up another 480,000. That's not something that can be sustained. But we also hope that starting next year, we're not going to have situations where we don't have kids in school, we don't have staff in school, we're able to expend our funds. Okay. What that would leave after applying 1.8 million would be just over $2 million available. Now, last year we talked about doing this, but we didn't do it because we weren't certain if there was going to be a curtailment of subsidy. We weren't certain what the future was going to look like, so we did not create or add to any reserve accounts. What we're recommending doing out of that $2 million, and I mentioned this to the council last night, is creating a special education reserve in the amount of $150,000. Okay. I'll talk about this a little bit more when we get to the special ed cost center, but when you look at a situation where you're looking to add 9, 10, and 11 ed techs in 1 year, that's a significant impact on your budget. Or if you have that situation where you have a student who, despite going A through Z and trying to provide programming in your district, you find that you cannot do it and you have to place that student outside of the district. This is something that would help offset that by having that reserve. And it's a prudent thing to do. Also looking at adding $200,000 to the minor capital reserve account. Okay, this was an account that was established back in 2019 with $100,000 to go towards the Del Luz Stadium lighting project. We used about $3,600 of it last year to help replace the boiler at HCTC. There's just about $96,000 there. But we have some big expenses that are coming up. Del Luz Stadium still needs to be done. Now, you heard in our previous budget workshop, Chuck's budget has a lot of things in it, replacing the bleachers, paving the parking lot, and a number of other pieces. Having a capital reserve would allow us more flexibility in getting those projects done. Okay. The other thing would be to replenish the HCTC minor capital projects reserve. As you know, we used that last year. We used part of it for the roof project. We used part of it for the boiler, and that was depleted. So that would be $450,000 going into reserve, which would leave an undesignated amount of $1.576 million. Now, moving forward into the next year, that's a lot of money. However, you need to be prepared for contingencies. Even though there's federal money there that we have to use for the next couple of years, having that money undesignated prepares us in the event that we have something that will come up. If I can give you an example of that, even though you would address it with the minor capital projects reserve at HCTC, we know that one boiler was replaced this year with a larger boiler. We also know the other boiler is the same age. That could go at any point in time. There are other situations and examples like that. So that covers your general fund, and that's why you see in the spreadsheet $1.8 million as a balance forward applied against expenditures. Okay. A couple of years ago, the law changed, career and technical education, even though Ellsworth School Department owns and operates HCTC. We need to operate it as a separate cost center, so it has a separate fund balance. Okay. As of June 30, 2020, and again, this is unaudited, we would project a $235,000 balance. Last year, for this budget, we applied $70,803 to offset expenditures, leaving a balance of $163,962.74. We used $63,000 of that to fund the boiler replacement, leaving an ending fund balance of $100,000. We're estimating at this point in time a surplus of $71,249 for a total of $171,249.11. At this point in time, we haven't talked to the advisory committee or the superintendents about whether to apply any of that fund balance towards the HCTC budget or that other revenue line, but that's a possibility. And I think that committee is going to meet. Are we confirmed, Mrs. Bowles? Okay. We have. Okay. So it's important to understand how that piece works. The other piece I want to mention and stress, because when you hear these numbers, they're large numbers, but please understand that fund balances are something that you manage over the long term. It's not a one-year proposition. Please also understand that back in 2014, if you can remember that far back, the first budget that was approved for the Ellsworth School Department version 2.0 as we came out of the RSU had a $1.2 million fund balance applied to it. The reason for that was because there was an amount of money that was coming from RSU 24 back to Ellsworth. in the normal year, you wouldn't start with a fund balance that high. We worked over the next 3-4 years to try to bring that down, 3, 4, 5 years to bring that down. We had to start bringing it up because we had a year where subsidy wasn't good, and then we had the pandemic. So that's one of the reasons that you're seeing it increase now. But it's something that we need to continue to work to bring down so that it's a common and consistent amount each year. It's just going to take some time, but please understand it's managed over the long term. It's like you would manage your own home budget. So that's where we are with revenues. I ran through that pretty quickly. Any questions? Okay, nobody's asleep yet? Good, all right. Let's hit the other side of it.
That was longer than 7 minutes, though.
Well, Jen told me it would probably take a little longer than that.
I kind of had an idea.
It was close.
So on the expenditure side, let's just run down through the cost centers, and this is at the top of your spreadsheet. Regular instruction, which is your pre-K through 12 regular instructional program. As of today, you've got an increase of $394,112, or 5.91%. $173,000 of that is in new staffing positions, okay? That is, as we talked about at our previous workshop, increasing your current .5 Spanish teacher to a full-time position. That's for increased student demand for that class. Also adding a full-time vocal instructor and music teacher at EEMS to be shared between EEMS and EHS. A grade 7 classroom teacher to deal with projected enrollment levels. We're going to need an additional teacher at that level. At our last workshop, we talked about 2 math interventionists, and the data supports that. Right now, this budget reflects those being put into the most recent allocation of ESSER funds. Qualifies as an eligible expense under that, and it makes sense to put it there. We have those funds for the next 2 years. You know, the question always comes, if you put it in that budget, what happens 2 years from now if you still need it? And we had that conversation with the council last night. It's a decision we'll have to make at that time. But this is an opportunity to leverage the federal funds for an eligible expense. And these are positions that we've been trying to get for a couple of years. The recommendation is to put those into ESSER and take them out of the local budget. The other piece that's on there, this is something we've been trying to do for the past couple of years, is the proposed expansion of the pre-K program to full day and 5 days a week. I think that's something we would really like to try to keep, but we'll see where that goes. That's about a $25,000 price tag. But the other thing that goes into your increase here, it's not really an overall increase in the budget, but your one-to-one technology devices and your leases on those used to be under a different cost center. They're now in regular instruction. So it makes that increase look even more. The other disclaimer I want to give you is through all of these places where you have staff members, employees, wages are based upon negotiated agreement increases for wages and benefits. Good news on the benefits is, however, Anthem premiums came in this year. We're very fortunate, 0% increase. Woo-hoo. That's reflected in here. So any questions on regular ed? Good. Special education, increase of $283,000 or 6.8%. Now, of that $282,000, $362,687 are due to staffing. And I said this last night at the council meeting. Dan, what about your math? Staffing is a bigger increase than your overall increase. Well, that's because we have some decreases in other areas. But that increase is in new positions, net new positions. There are 11 new Ed Tech 3s needed. 2 of them have been moved into what's known as the local entitlement grant, a federal grant that supports special needs programming. That's why I say that's net. Also, the proposed addition of another special ed teacher at K4 to deal with increased caseloads. Those 2 are connected. One of the places that we've seen a decrease, we talked about out-of-district tuition. Right now, this budget includes funding to support 2 students for an out-of-district placement. Last year, we had 3 students in there. So that amounts for the bulk of your decrease to get you down to that increase of $282,000. We're looking at summer school. We're looking at after school. That's the place where we're looking, can we use the ESSER funds, which in part are targeted towards learning recovery, to help leverage what we do locally. Those are things that we're going to be looking at over the next couple of weeks. The thing we need to be cautious of in special education is there's a law that talks about maintenance of effort. We need to make sure that we maintain appropriate funding and spending levels in special ed, so we need to be cautious on that. That is special education. Questions? CTE, we talked about this at our last meeting. Right now, it's an increase of $154,000, or just under 9%. Your cybersecurity program expenses are the bulk of that at $136,750. One piece, and I think we're pretty close to finalizing this, we've talked about it, is one of the universities here in the state is really a large and significant proponent of the cybersecurity program, looking at providing us an instructor to teach remotely and virtually to our students. What we would need to provide is an IT staff or an Ed Tech 3-level staff person with an interest in IT. So I think that's pretty close to finalized. You'll see that go down a little bit if that's the case. We'll be taking a full-time teacher-level position out and putting in a part-time position. But that's where the bulk of your increase is there. And again, there is funding to support that, $69,000. Hearing no questions, we'll press on. Other instruction is your after-school, summer school.
Beth had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Beth.
Sorry, I've been over here pondering.
Go ahead.
So special education, I know you've covered that and then you moved on. So that shows an increase of $282,856.67. And it was, so even just for the current year, in order for the kindergarten and first grade or to come back, we need between 5 and 8.
Yep.
So is that accounting for that too?
Yeah, what this includes, Beth, is the current positions that are unfilled.
Okay.
Those are still in the budget because unless a student moves away,
Okay,
we still need that Ed Tech for those services.
okay.
This represents an addition of.
Okay, so that's,
11, that's above.
those 5 to 8 are already included in this
Yes.
number from this
Yep.
previous year. So this is for addition, thank you. I just
We
wanted
have-
that clarification.
We have 68
to-
Ed Techs district-wide.
Okay.
This year, positions. Next year's budget is 79.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Sorry,
No, that's
I
good.
threw you back a line, but I just wanted to make sure that
It's
we
okay,
had.
I'm pretty good on this,
Yep.
I think. All right, other instruction, after-school, summer school, co- and extracurricular, it's an increase of $65,000. We can really give it to you in 4 areas. We talked about it. Supplies at EEMS, cheering mats, uniforms, and other athletic supplies. Co-curricular dues for various student competitions at the high school. Purchase services, dues and uniforms at the high school. And equipment for Ellsworth High School athletics in the form of pole vault mats and soccer goals. Okay, that accounts for your increase. And those are all things that we need for our student programs. And, you know, you've heard talk about our programs. You all know our programs. They're a source of great learning opportunities for our students. They're a source of great pride in our community. They're a great morale builder in our schools. It's something we need to support. Student and staff support, this is where you have guidance, health, social work, instructional staff training, which is your professional development, library media center, instructional technology and curriculum assessment, has an increase of $27,454 or 1.37%. It's a pretty small increase, isn't it? Okay. Remember, this is the cost center where the bulk of your one-to-one technologies came out of. So that's why you're seeing what appears to be a low increase there. What's included in there is proposed new staffing. It's the 504 coordinator for K through 7. Right now, that's in this budget. We are exploring whether or not that's a cost that could fall under ESSER, because so many of the social and emotional and mental health needs of students are as a result of COVID. I didn't take it out yet because we're not certain. We don't want to put something there if we're not certain. Rachel is working on that. There are also materials to support social and emotional support for staff and students. Again, that's something we're looking at as to whether or not that can go under ESSER. I think that's about all there is to say on that cost center. System admin, this is the school board, superintendent, business office, 1.93% increase, $11,147. Legal and audit services, wages, insurance, and software and maintenance. System admin, this is your building level administrator offices at EEMS and EHS. HCTC is a separate cost center, so is adult education. This is an increase of $46,000 or 5.08%. Again, wages and benefits and staff professional development and tuition reimbursement. Facilities and maintenance, this is one that shows the greatest change from the last time that we talked about the budget. You can see we're down to about a $90,000 increase, 3.77%. Talked with Chuck, and with Chuck, as I've mentioned, he does a great job in his budget. He's got his entire list of things, particularly on capital expenditures, and he has a prioritized list of 1 to the end. And obviously, we want to come in with a budget that's fiscally responsible. We also looked at some projects in his that could be phased in over a couple of years like we have been doing, and also some pieces that can be included under ESSER, and I'll talk about those in a minute. So what is currently in this right now is phase-in replacement of the roof. First part of that is $75,000. Replacing the gym bleachers at the high school. One of the things that Chuck did was get this as a full-fledged quote, but also a quote for a 2-year period to do it in 2 phases. We're talking about doing 1 phase this year, 1 phase next year, 1 phase the year after. It was asked last night at the council meeting, which side of the bleachers were we going to do, the home side or the away side? That's Dale Hamilton's question, and it was an easy answer. Tennis court resurfacing remains in the budget. That's something that really needs to be done. We've been trying to get it in there for a number of years. They're out front, they're visible, they need to be safe, they need to be good. The walkway bollards, which definitely need to be replaced and rebuilt. Chuck has got those in there. So those are your major pieces. Some of the things that came out that fall under ESSER, we're looking at a number of windows. Again, we've got a multi-year window replacement project. One of the reasons we're doing that is because the age of the windows, you cannot get replacement parts, and some of them do not work and do not open on the 2nd and 3rd floor. You need increased ventilation. So to enhance that, one of the pieces that we are looking at this as falling under ESSER is increased ventilation. Those window projects can fall there. The other pieces, you remember there was a proposal to replace carpeting in the library that's been there since 1996 and replace it with a different flooring surface. That's definitely COVID-related, so those pieces have fallen under that. This may go down a little bit. Chuck's budget also includes furniture and fixture requests for the entire district. We always get more furniture and fixture requests. It's not just for maintenance, it could come from classrooms, offices, and so forth. We typically try to do those like we do uniforms, to have a replacement cycle so you have a certain amount that you expend each year. That's an area that we'll probably take a look at. But still, a 3.77% increase in maintenance and facilities is pretty good. Transportation, this is probably the easiest one to talk about. It's a reduction in overall expenditures. We've looked at the sublines. As you know, through ESSER, we've purchased 2 new buses, 2 new vans this year. We don't need to add to our fleet this year, maybe not next year either. So that shows a decrease of $61,000. Food service, talked about this a little bit earlier, and I want to spend a couple of minutes on it real quickly. It's an increase of $51,000 or 40%. Revenue side of the budget is still in development, and one of the things that's important to understand, when we did the budget last year, we were obviously looking at having school as regular in the fall. Obviously that changed. So projections that we do for revenues, costs that you get for your adult meals for your staff, student meals who pay full price, students who pay reduced price meals, and your reimbursement. We base that on average number of meals over the course of a period of years and project it on our enrollment. Throughout the course of this year being in hybrid, you've had half of the students in school on each day eating lunch. So revenues are down. Even with the state making a change and giving us a higher reimbursement level where they're paying for all meals, revenues are still down. We had a really good month in March. With students coming back to school for April, May, and a short part of June, we're going to see those numbers go up. What Carolyn and I are looking at is, are we going to need to take any of that fund balance and make a transfer to food service to make it whole? Okay. We need to monitor that over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks to see where we come with that. The other thing that's going to be helpful is when you budget your food expenses, you're basing it upon feeding your regular number of students. We've been feeding half the students each day, so our food expenses have gone down. So that one is still a work in progress. Adult education, Annie talked with pride, and she should, about her new space. It's interesting, when we had our leadership meeting this past week, she made very sure that we all knew. Take a look behind me. I've got a wall. I've got a door. It's painted.
It's so exciting.
It was good. We all appreciated that. We're looking right now at an increase of $70,000. Again, it's the addition of that classroom space. There are still some furnitures and fixtures that she needs. Wages and insurance there. There's tuition reimbursement increases. The piece that we're looking at is, with the audit coming in, is there going to be any availability of fund balance to offset that expenditure? And if we see that, that's likely to come down. So that encompasses all of the expenditures that you have. Again, I don't think there's anything new in there that you didn't hear from your last budget workshop. There are some things that have been taken out. There are some things that have been put into ESSER. So when you look at the proposed draft of the expenditure side of the budget, including adult education, you're talking about an increase of $868,323.13, or 3.78%. You know, when you're looking at budgeting, that's not necessarily a bad percentage of increases on the expenditure side. The challenge comes in, what's the impact on our local taxpayers? Obviously, we're in the midst of, well, we're hopefully coming towards the end of a pandemic, but people are still struggling. There's still challenges out there. Last year, our finance committee and you as a board made the decision to come in with a budget that had no increase to the local appropriation. I think that was a great move. It was the right thing to do. This year, by applying the level of fund balance that we're talking about, what we're able to do with the numbers that we have, and again, some of these still need to be fleshed out, we're looking at an increase in local appropriation of $131,233.57, which is 1.14%. When you're looking at a $24 million budget and you're talking about an increase of 1% locally, I think that's really good. And I think the one thing I want to close on here, just so the community understands it, I know you as board members do. You know, historically, we've always tried to do budgets here that meet the vision and the mission. We've always tried to do budgets that provide for appropriate and adequate academic, co- and extracurricular opportunities for our students that is also fiscally responsible. So if you go all the way back to FY16, okay, that was a year in which expenditures increased by 2.2%, but because state funding was at a challenging point that year, we needed a significant increase in local appropriation. The board at that time and the council and the voters approved a $900,000 increase to the local appropriation. Since that year, however, FY17, let me just give you the percentages. The increase in expenditures was 2.6%. The increase in local appropriation that year was 0. FY18, increase in expenditures was 1.76%. The increase locally was 0.48%. FY19, there was an increase of 3.43% on the expenditure side and just under 2% locally. FY20, there was an increase in state funding, so we were able to increase expenditures, also an increase in tuition revenues, and we added some teaching staff that year. A 5.6% increase in expenditures, but less than a 3% increase in local appropriation. And of course, FY21, as you all know, we came in with a local appropriation that was $3,300 less than the previous year. So I think historically the school department has done a great job of providing what we need for our programs and opportunities for kids, but also been fiscally responsible to the community. I think the budget that we just ran through here meets those same pieces. Again, still has a couple, 3 more weeks of fleshing out. So with that being said, a little more than 7 minutes, Beth, but any questions?
No, I don't have any.
I know there was questions at the council meeting last night about adding new programs that are being paid for by ESSER funds, and those programs might be funded for the next fiscal year or the one following, but then those funds may no longer be available, and that if we wanted to continue those programs, we would face what was described as a fiscal cliff. I think the math interventionist was one of the things that was mentioned. So we're looking for 2 math interventionist positions. Probably each costing us, with salary and benefits, what, around 65?
What's in the budget is about 65,000, yes.
Per person, yeah. So at about $23 million budget, that's a pretty small percentage. And if we did, I think we have a good opportunity with these math interventionists to, we need help with math, as we know, at all grade levels. And we will have an opportunity to see if there's any kind of impact from having these positions in place.
Yeah.
And so
It's a great opportunity
2
to
years
gather
from
the
now,
data.
when we're saying, okay, now we have to pay for it, we may have some good data to support that
And they've
decision.
been in budgets for a couple of years and been cut.
Yeah.
We've had them and they haven't.
So it's an opportunity to.
But to build on Paul's point, you know, the instructional coach that we have, we tried to fund in a similar way. We put it in the local budget, and it got cut one year. The next year, we were able to fund it through one of the federal grants, half, and half in the local budget. And then we demonstrated that it was providing benefit. We were able to fund it locally. So I think that's an avenue by which this may work.
And not everything that is being funded by ESSER is programs, right? Some of it are things that it's a one-time purchase, like new windows, right?
Yes.
Not something we're going to have to continue to pay for every year and then have to go find
I
funds
think
for.
the other thing to put out there is that there are also some other things that we're looking at around the social, emotional, and mental health that can be done with ESSER. You know, we have added over the past couple of years to our social work and guidance program in the schools to work directly with students. But we're also looking at other places that we can contract with using these funds to help address the issues that are COVID-related, so that moving forward, they are less of an issue. But those are some other pieces. But I think the federal funds are there. You know, there was a conversation about it last night at the workshop about how we've expended them. I know Carolyn sent you guys all a copy of everything we've done thus far.
Mhm.
You know, I want to give credit to our staff, you know, through the needs analysis that they've done. You know, Rachel's worked with the staff, with the administrators, with the staff members in the school. The way that we've used the funds to keep schools open, to keep schools safe. I think our staff's done an incredible job of that. You know, when you look at the parameters for the most recent set of funding that came out from the new administration in Washington, a lot of the things that they're recommending that you use it on are things that we've already been doing in Maine because our schools have been open. Schools across other parts of the country
Yes.
haven't been. So the things we're focusing on are learning recovery, social, emotional, and mental health, and anything we need to do to keep our schools
Yeah,
open.
and I think in those particular circumstances, even if in 2 years you face that cliff, those are things that are needed right now. We needed a math interventionist 2 years ago when it got cut, and last year when it got cut. So we need it even more so now when we have students who haven't been able to be in school full-time.
And this kind of brings you full circle back to the fund balance piece, and this is why having that level of fund balance and having funds in reserve is not a bad thing. We have an opportunity to do that right now without a significant impact on our taxpayers. This is the time to do it.
Right. And if we don't have the appropriate special ed people and programs like a math interventionist, we are sending special needs kids to school without giving them the fair and appropriate education that they are entitled to by law. If we do not do this, we open ourselves up to very extensive lawsuits. This is not really a choice. If we don't do this, we are rolling the dice. If we don't hire these teachers, put in these positions, we're taking a gamble of saying, maybe we'll get sued and maybe we won't.
Right.
And that lawsuit's gonna cost a lot more than that cliff that we might fall
Right.
off of.
Well, and it's also going to have the impact of, potentially an impact on a family and children.
Right. I mean,
beyond the financial aspect.
When you
of
look at
things.
what our high schoolers are accomplishing, especially through the biomed program and the things that they are doing now, those opportunities were not available to us in high school. And more so, we did not have the math presented to us to do most of that stuff in high school. It is a different set of expectations today. It's not, I mean, reading recovery is very important, but it is not everything. If you don't have those math skills, you are not going to compete in an American market or a global market.
All right.
Exactly.
Any further discussion on budget?
No.
I think we got it
I'll
right.
say, I think a budget that asks for an increase in local appropriation of 1.14% is fair, and
Yep.
I'd hope that would receive support from the council and from the citizens at the referendum, if that's where the final number ends up being.
Absolutely.
Especially in a year that we're trying to get things caught up from
Yeah.
a
Right.
year and a half of
Right.
chaos.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Item K, calendar and announcements. So the first thing we have on there is a discussion for a workshop on assessments. We were considering having that in March, and then that didn't work out, and then April. Rachel's not available on our workshop night. And potentially that looks like it may be budget, so that we can pass that with a special meeting prior to. An assessment workshop would be in addition to. And so we're looking at potential dates for that, probably in May,
I would say probably May, maybe the first week in May.
prior to the actual May workshop. A lot of the reason because we would like to be able to, the math interventionist piece now being in the ESSER grant is a little bit less of importance, but it really was a piece that we wanted community support behind that math interventionist position or both of those positions. And so we were thinking that would be well-timed prior to the June vote. It's still an important piece, and it's something we should be doing annually anyway. So we were looking at potential dates in May. Our board meeting would be May 11th, and workshop would be May 25th. So we could go
The week in between, possibly?
week in between, which would be May 18th.
Works for me.
Okay.
I can check with Penny and see if that's available.
And we would need to obviously check with Rachel and Deb Richards, because both of them are going to present that night.
And all of these guys.
And everyone here, right, I apologize. So that will be tentative, and then we'll get back with everybody. The next school board workshop will be Tuesday, April 27th at 6 PM here in the City Council chambers. It probably will start with the special meeting, possibly, for the budget information.
Hopefully, the budget will be ready to go at that point in time, for something that can go to the council. If not, I think the option would be to push a special meeting off to the next week and just have that be a workshop.
Okay. And then, again, the next school board meeting will be Tuesday, May 11th at 6 o'clock. I think that's it. Having no further business.
Oh,
I'll
I do
adjourn.
have a quick.
Sorry. Yeah,
Quick
go ahead.
note.
Sure.
Donnie Saunders sent us an email saying bus number 31 pickups tomorrow morning will be approximately 30 minutes late due to a driver illness.
All
Okay,
right.
wait a second, let me write this down because I want to put it online.
Bus 31.
Bus 31,
30 minutes late.
30 minutes late.
Tomorrow.
Oh, it's already posted on
Someone
the
is
Facebook
all
page.
over it, which is
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Connie.
You guys rock.
Excellent.
All right.
Sorry,
So
I wanted to
nope.
catch that before we.
That's great.
Wonderful.
Good catch. Good catch, Beth.
Having no further business, we're going to adjourn the meeting. It's 9:03. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
9:03.
9:03, sorry. I was ahead of
Jen was
myself.
so excited.
I was so excited.